Chapter 956, Duel. Chapter 956, Duel. Proofreader, Papatonks. Knock. An old man was inspecting a document over a finely carved jade table. When someone knocked, he raised his aged face and asked, "What is it?" "It's me, father. I have something urgent that needs your attention." The old man recognized the voice and said, "Oh, Rands, come in." Creak. Wu Rands lightly stepped forward, followed by 6 Soul Harmony guards carrying a wounded and an aggrieved second young master. The old man's eyes showed. He understood the situation as he sighed. Wu Rands bowed and spoke flatly. "Father, I request that brother is to be confined for half a month, lest he ruin the company's affairs." "What did he do this time?" The old man gave a long sigh as he returned to inspecting the document. Giving no regard to his son's spat, Wu Rand smiled, but then Wu Randong got out of the guard's hands and slammed the table as he barked. "Isn't it obvious from how I look? Someone beat me up." "Father, he is an important customer that will propel our company to higher heights in our trading with the lands." Ignoring the tantrum, Wu Rands reported, "Brother had a clash with the customer, but fortunately he was not heavy-handed, nor did he much care for this incident, still willing to trade with us. Before brother makes things any worse, I beseech father to confine brother and prevent from irritating our customer and driving the biggest deal our company has ever seen." Wu Randong whipped his head at Wu Rands and spat. "Brother, you're just going to pin this on me without even hearing the whole story. Rands, is his deal that valuable?" The old man ignored his youngest annoyance and asked what mattered. Wu Randong nodded, never looking away from his father. "Not just valuable, but far more important than even North Sea gel." "Ka." The old man paused, his eyes shook and snapped on Wu Rands, "like the North Sea gel. Not just that, but far, far bigger." "Absurd. We've been wanting to trade in the North Sea gel for thousands of years, yet never got the chance. Northern lands have it in short supply and have on a tight guard. Now you come to me saying there's something way better? What is it then?" The old man showed excitement for once. Wu Rands spoke. "Father, it's what I've been meaning to tell you about. Take this." Wu Rands presented a black stone. The old man frowned. "Father, please cultivate a bit with it." Wu Rands had a vague smile. Just like how Zhua Fan did it to him, the old man did as told. What happened to Wu Rands before happened with him as well. The rock was gone, and a surge of yuan qi filled him with endless power. The old man cried out as he turned to Wu Rands in shock. What is this thing?" "Demon Spirit Stone." Wu Rands bowed, looking excited as well, retelling all that transpired, finishing with, "The customer had given us 100,000 in advance, then will sign with us an indefinite contract, and all he wants is to use our commercial line. I already promised him this, and I ask that father works fast to strike a deal with the city lord to get his approval." The old man's eyes shone as he laughed. "Sure, there's no way we're going to miss the deal of the century. I'll go to the city lord right now and see what he wants in return. That old Bailey Jingyu couldn't just stick to booze and women, but had to play dumb as well, insisting that we have to talk in person. Rands, you'd be more than enough for something as simple as this." "Well, not that it matters, since in 2 years, I'll withdraw from being chairman of the company and you'll be taking over. Then he'll be your problem. Ha ha." Wu Rands laughed along, his eyes dead, like there was nothing exciting in becoming the top dog, since it's only obvious. He had established himself in the Serene Shores trading, and his father had nothing but praises for him, while the rest of the members admired him greatly. So young, yet the highest manager under his father, bringing many important deals without the help of his father, helped consolidate his value within the company. It had long gone from his father being assured of passing the mantle, becoming an obvious choice, but what about vying for power, for status? Did you expect him to see his poor excuse of a brother as a worthy match? He didn't amount to even a bucket of spit. There was nothing to be jealous of. Wait. Wu Randong butted in with a red face and bloodshot eyes. "Father, brother, is money all you care about? He has humiliated the company's members, and your own flesh and blood got beaten up, yet you don't even care? What worth would any trade be, regardless of how big, if it's crooked?" The old man shot him a cold look. "Randong, I have told you both before that respect is paramount in our line of work. The people we deal with all come from important clans. We may have spread out throughout the lands, but we never mix money with politics, ever. The moment we cross the line will be the second we become petty and lead the company to ruin. Why else do you think I've been wasting so much time catering to that spineless Bailey Jingyu? It's all due to having Bailey in his name. Don't ever say his name around me. I hate him to death. Wu Randong spat in fury. Wu Ran shouted, "Brother, that's enough. We only grew to our current influence because we value respect above all else in our dealings. It's what pays for all the resources you get to use to cultivate. How else would you have reached the soul harmony stage so fast? Without power, you'd be weak and at anyone's mercy. And bowing and scraping isn't a weakness. We are weak against the top while strong against those at the bottom. But if we break our principles, the clan will be over, and no matter where we go, we'll be the weakest. You think about that." Wu Rans huffed and said to the guards, "Father and I will be going to the city lord's manor. You make sure to confine him. Above all else, make sure he doesn't go and disturb that valued customer, or you'll have to answer for it." Father and son walked out without giving Wu Randong a glance as the guards bowed bam. They didn't even have to stand straight, as the lavish room sported an extra-large hole, with the sun's warm rays falling upon them. As for Wu Randong, he was nowhere to be found. Damn it. Second young master ran away. After him. They all panicked as they scrambled out of the hole in their rushed search. They failed to notice the bush just below the room, where Wu Randong stuck his head out to watch them leave. He gnashed his teeth. "There won't be any deal. Not if I can help it." Wu Randong stepped cautiously in another direction, towards the biggest tavern in Gold Boss City. An hour later, in a grand room, Gu Santong lay on the bed. Weak and unconscious Shuafan sat at his bedside, watching over him with constant sighs. He could have carried Gu Santong in his ring, but the fear of something happening to him prevented that. Instead, he chose to carry him always, to sense every little change in his son. After so many days, he relaxed, knowing his condition was stable. Serene shores trading. Zhuofan's eyes shone as he contemplated. Wu Rans and the entire company are capable in trading, but too obsessed with profit. All merchants value gain over parting, especially this one. It's easy to be stabbed in the back even after the deal is done. As for that second young master, get out. Whoever you are, get out now and duel me. The ravings coming from outside cut his thoughts short. Zhuofan chuckled. "We're on dawn. Speak of the devil, huh?" Chapter 957, Ice Dragon Blast. Chapter 957, Ice Dragon Blast. Proofreader, Papatonks. Whoosh. Zhuo flashed in Wu Randong's face, eyes darting all over the place, then grinned when the coast was clear. Clear the area before the big fight. I'm the second young master of Serene Shores Trading. Anyone would flee. Wu Randong spat. There's only us now. You won't get the drop on me like last time. Zhuofan rose an eyebrow and smiled. I get it. You don't want bystanders hurt. Your compassion knows no bounds. But do you have the luxury to worry about others when you're going to get it? You know I beat you once, yet you're that confident you can win this time? Shut it. Regardless of outcome, you've made an enemy out of Serene Shores Trading. Now suffer for it. With a furious roar, Wu Randong stomped and charged towards Zhuofan. He made hand signs, and an icy aura spread from him. High profound ranked martial art. Ice Dragon Blast. Knowing Zhuofan was no pushover, Wu Randong went all out from the first attack with a furious hiss. Wu Randong turned into ice-cold silver lights that spread out to take the form of 9 dragons. As they smashed forward, Zhuofan squinted. The same skill has different power based on each user's cultivation. This skill was a profound, ranked martial art, but Wu Randong was a soul harmony expert with an elemental soul, perennialized soul. The soul and the art combined, making him become an ice dragon and boosting its power. It also helps emphasize its weaknesses. An expert that could contrain his elemental soul could make use his reckless charge and inflict serious damage. A shame Zhuofan was just the type with a nasty smirk. Zhuofan flew straight at the dragon's boom. His previous spot was assaulted by the ice dragon's explosions, the coldness spreading out and freezing everything around the tavern before disintegrating. As for the dragons, they were still around despite the move having ended, turning towards Zhuo Fan in the air and chasing after him. Divine Eye of the Void's first stage shift. Zhuo Fan grinned at the 9 dragons as his right eye shone golden boom. The 9 dragons clashed in the air and unleashed their icy power, turning the area into ice before crumbling to glittering ice particles whoosh. Zhuo Fan then appeared elsewhere, giving the 9 dragons a mocking grin. Wu Randong was pissed more than ever, roaring and sending the dragons after Zhuo Fan again. Zhuo Fan had the Divine Eye of the Void as his ace, always keeping him out of danger while the dragons kept blasting the air with ice. Wu Randong's face twitched, incensed at his futility, but also grave. Knowing just how strong Zhuo Fan was, he simply breezed through the blast without a care, proving the gap between the two. It was so large that the other did not feel like fighting back. The weaker party would make the sensible choice and run away, but Wu Randong no longer had that option, not after looking at Zhuo Fan with such bloodshot eyes. He didn't want to beat Zhuo Fan now. At the very least, a bruise or a cut that would be enough to break their deal. Wu Randong howled again, the 9 ice dragons exploding with coldness and even freezing space, dyeing it white. The clear sky was now covered in dark clouds, pouring down snowflakes. And with the dragon's roars, a savage storm brewed around Zhuo Fan, blocking every direction. Zhuo Fan shook his head. Now, this is his actual power. This guy's the type to harass until he's beaten into the ground. I was kind enough to show him reality, but it just didn't reach him. Oh well, Zhuo Fan grinned, pulling his sleeve with a giddy look and an evil smile. It's brother. In another side of town, Wu Ranz was talking business in a brightly lit castle. Seeing the disturbance outside and the snowstorm, he shouted, "Damn that fool. He's making it hard for me again." Their father frowned and cursed. What are those servants doing? Did they let him run free and cause chaos? If they ruin my biggest deal, they're finished. Wu Randong knew his father and brother had to be talking about him, or more like cursing, but he didn't care, still doing his thing and trying to score some kind of hit. With another draconic roar, the 9 dragons' power reached its peak, spreading in the air and on the ground. The dragons then flicked their tails, targeting Zhuo Fan, only this time way faster than before. The dragons as well, no longer charged like a stampede, but coming from all directions to seal Zhuo Fan's escape. Though Zhuo Fan just stood there, with only his right hand releasing a scarlet light, shimmering the air around it from his raw power. Divine Eye of the Void's 4th stage, Space Crusher. Even as the 9 dragons were close to reach him, Zhuo Fan wouldn't budge, sporting a creepy grin as his right eye shone in 4 golden halos hum. 1,000 meters around, Zhuo Fan shimmered strongly, wearing down even the air itself as explosions sounded off. As for the 9 dragons, 8 howled from being fakes, crumbling into glittering ice. The last one remained, though, growling and forced itself forward as it shook under the attack. In the end, it swished its tail and was forced to fall back. Ha! It clearly points out the real body. Zhuo Fan's eyes flashed and flew for the ice dragon, catching up to it in seconds and giving it a mean punch. Of the 9 dragons, 8 were of Yuan Qi, and only the last one was due to soul harmony, allowing you to withstand the crumbling of space. Second young master, your attack has no effect on me. Bam! The dragon howled and spat blood again and again, having suffered such a heavy blow, sent into the ground and leaving a 100-meter-wide crater. Once the dust cleared, what was left was an ashen youth, with blood at the mouth. Zhuo Fan drifted over and chuckling. Well, want to continue? Humph, guess you win this time. But don't get too smug. Serene Shores Trading won't let this matter stand. You're dead for sure. Wu Randong spat through gritted teeth and walked away. Zhuo Fan's casual tone reached him. You really don't want your company to make such a big deal with me. Wu Randong winced, but covered it well, showing a mocking smile to Zhuo Fan. There won't be any deal. You hurt me, so don't think my father will just work with you. You should be worried about coming out alive, rather than an impossible deal. Is that so? Here I think your brother is much more keen on trading than your situation. Oh wait, he never cares about you at all, only making deals. Zhuo Fan mocked. Wu Randong's face shook. My brother is my brother, and dad is dad. It's still father who has the final say. Seeing their attitude, you'll know I'm right. Just from your brother's status in the company and his style, I can tell your father's as well. Joie Fan shook his head. If your father loved you at all, your brother would have shown something for you, hatred or caring, but he has nothing. This goes to show, second young master must have a tough time within your house. Shut up, Wu Randong screamed, pointing at Joie Fan. Who do you think you are to tarnish our company's name? Let me tell you, your deal is through, so get lost now. Joie Fan chuckled. What did I say? You're clearly aiming for a broken deal. Are you showing your true colors at last? Ugh. Wu Randong's lip trembled, lost for words. Who is this guy? Always seeing through my intent and attacks. Chapter 958, Better Not Regret It. Chapter 958, Better Not Regret It. Proofreader, Papatonks. Are you looking to mess up the deal? Wu Randong stood dumbly under Joie Fan's scrutiny. Feel like sharing why? Given enough reason, I may be inclined to let this deal fall through like you want. What? Wu Randong gave Joie Fan an incredulous look. Aren't you after the commercial line? If the deal is off, how are you going to use it? You don't have to worry about that. That's the kind of guy I am, casual, ha. Joie Fan's eyes shone, using his guile to sway him. Second young master, I'm more than sure of your position in the company. You're an eyesore to your own family, unable to do even the most menial tasks, just like a dead weight. Why you? Before you deny, know that I'm right. Joie Fan continued. You can't strike deals, you can't break them, you're weak, and you can't change my mind. The trade between me and your father and brother won't be influenced by you. And if you had it in you, you'd have gotten them to break it off already instead of looking to take it out on me. In other words, I'm the only person that can help you. And all I want is to hear your story. Or is it that there isn't one, with second young master wanting to make a scene out of anger? Are you that much of a child? Of course your dad won't care about you. Wu Randong's lips shook, staring at Joie Fan, and finally sighing. Fine, you wanted my reasons, here they are. I hate the company. I don't want it to grow any bigger. I want to destroy it. Why? You're the second young master, and only have to gain from its development. Joie Fan found a nice chunk of rock to sit on and look at his furious face. I'd get it if it came from the guards being annoyed by their boss and having a hard time. Yet a successor like you, instead of vying with Wu Rands for the lead, you want to run the family business into the ground, with everyone losing. I gotta say, you're a true prodigal son to want to destroy your family. Or is it envy from seeing your brother taking the power? Spite makes more sense in this case. Some people would rather destroy what they can't have. I've seen plenty of those to last a lifetime. You're the spiteful one. I'm a man of virtue, and it won't matter even if I have no real power. How could I just lust for power? Why then? They're all dead inside. Wu Randong squinted and gnashed his teeth. You went into the company, and you've seen bowing and scraping, right? Joie Fan paused and nodded. It's not all bad, bowing to... That's what you think. Wu Randong glared and roared. Serene Shore's trading are always respectful to all clients. That's how it spread throughout the lands. It used to be my pride as well. Thinking being kind is what makes you strike big deals, respecting the other party to achieve your goal. But then I found that this nice attitude has made us weak. Not fighting back or never talking against any dissent aside, they still have a smile on their faces even after the other took a life. This is a disgrace. A business is a negotiation. You respect me, and I respect you. But if you don't, why the hell should I respect you? We've grown big enough already and don't need to scrape for deals like beginners. Naive. Joie Fan chuckled in disdain. That's why your dad gives you the cold shoulder, since you'll get into trouble at some point. Because of your virtue, you don't compromise, clueless that you're still in the palm of the strong. One wrong move, and your family is finished. Wu Randong cried out, You're also saying that. Of course, since business and politics never match. Joie Fan waved his hand, his eyes shining. Second young master, was the other party someone important to end up with a fatality? Wu Randong nodded heavily. 3 years ago, because the friend I grew up with found out Bailey Jingyu took his sister, he barged into his manor to save her. Yet they both died. I wanted to take some men and turn his home upside down, but brother told on me to father and had me confined home for 10 years, afraid that I'll offend that bastard. I realized then that our company has grown weak. The company used to mock Bailey Jingyu's incompetence, with Gold Boss City's entire power belonging to us. But that's when I knew that we were mocking ourselves. A useless fool is able to kill the guard of the merchant company that trades in all the lands without so much as a slap on the wrist. What will happen when a true city lord comes along? The bright and strong company on the surface is shaking from within. Haha, maybe not, Zhuo Fan chuckled. The Serene Shores trading only came along as a tool to connect the 5 lands by the 5 leaderships. But if a tool goes bad, you change it. You can't get too confident in yourself. While your father and brother are indeed a bit too cautious. Regarding that incident 3 years ago, it didn't matter if it was anyone else, but since it was Bailey Jingwei that came to power, he knows what matters are crucial and where to draw the line. Did you think it'd change anything if you ruined his manor? You're a tool that still needs using, and Bailey Jingwei won't throw it away. While on the contrary, if you had handed the boy personally to Bailey Jingyu, then praise him of his qualities, showing your stance and being suave, the Prime Minister might be even willing to pay back in kind. The Bailey clan has plenty of people and can do away with a dead weight. Ha. Wu Randong gave him a long look, and his face grew solemn. Right. We could have asked Bailey Jingwei for help. But thinking they're all Bailey, maybe they'd cast out one of their own, since their relationship is strained. All things hang in the balance. Being headstrong tips it. Zhuo Fan had a vague smile as he muttered, Serene Shores Trading's pursuit for money made it lack in many areas, making it weak despite its tough front. As for the second young master, he's too rash and impulsive. It's only a matter of time before he invites disaster. However, with me in control, there'll be no problems. Also, unlike his other kin, Wu Randong is passionate and far easier to mold for my use. He'll make a good lackey. What did you say? Wu Randong was stunned at his prattling. Zhuo Fan gave his most evil smile. Second young master, I know why you hate the company. Deep love breeds deeper hatred. You hate its weakness, being unable to protect yours and losing your dignity as merchants. It's one thing when you're powerless and a whole nother when you're not. The humiliation is unbearable, right? Wu Randong sighed and nodded. Great, I got the picture. Now let me ask you this. How will you handle the company if you were to lead it? Will you be a loose cannon like before? Me? Wu Randong flinched, shaking his head. No way. Dad decided 3 years ago that brother will be following him. How? Zhuo Fan smirked. Nothing's absolute. I'm just asking if you'll be the same, if you'd be leading. Wu Randong's heart shook. He never stopped to think of things like that, because he knew how he was too reckless. Unlike his able brother, you hate how weak the company became, but aren't you even weaker? Zhuo Fan bewitched him. Real strength comes from supreme power. If you want to change the company, you must first wield it. I'm here to make it happen, but you don't want to. Whatever happens to your company you don't like, you'll have no one to blame but yourself. You don't want to be strong, so stop showing dislike for the cowardly company. All of you are the same. Wu Randong shuddered and grimaced. Then his eyes shone with conviction. Whenever did I say I won't take it? If Dad gives me the power, I will make the company be born anew. That's the right attitude. The strong don't whine, but think of how to step on the weak. Even if they aren't weak, you'll make them feel weak. Furthermore, the strong don't make excuses for their failures because of others' faults. Zhuo Fan gave a creepy chuckle. Better not regret it later. Second young master. Regret. Wu Randong had a really bad feeling looking at his strange smile. All that he could tell was that he had struck a deal with the devil. Chapter 959. Believe it. Chapter 959. Believe it. Proofreader, Papatonks. Whoosh. Wu Randong felt tense, seeing the evil smirk on Zhuo Fan's face, just as a dozen people landed in front of them, with his brother and father in the lead looking at the ruins around. The two were furious and slapped his face red. Bastard son, how much trouble do you need to give the company before it's enough? Guard, take second young master and never let him out of your vicinity or out of his room. I'll be holding you responsible for him. Wu Rands was just as pissed, his eyes icy as he spat. The guards nodded and grabbed Wu Randong. Second young master, Don't make the eldest young master and the master any angrier. Just come with us." Ignoring them and even his father's slap, Wu Randong kept staring at Zhuo Fan. More puzzled than ever, Zhuo Fan returned a beaming smile. "Sir, 1,000 apologies. I've failed as a father and had my son disturb you. Please forgive me." Ignoring his worthless son, the old man bowed before Zhuo Fan. He was not just at peak soul harmony stage, but also the head of the company. Yet here he was, bowing and being humble. It only worked to prove just how important the deal was for them. "I hope my foolish son's recklessness did not affect our deal." Zhuo Fan chuckled. "Of course not. Me and your second young master were only sparring. It wasn't done out of recklessness. May I be presumptuous and assume that Senior is the head of the Serene Shores Trading?" "Yes, he is the clan head and the Serene Shores Trading chairman, Wu Jiangtao." Wu Ran smiled and made the introduction, not forgetting to apologize as well. "Brother has crossed the line earlier, and I'm most grateful for Sir's patience in forgetting his transgression. I represent the company when I say thank you and I apologize." Wu Jiangtao bobbed his head. "Yes, Sir's endless patience is an outstanding quality of a great man. Our Serene Shores Trading is most honored to work with you, sir." The two of them kept being overly nice and humble to their client, all to ease his anger and not botch the deal of the century. Zhuo Fan chuckled knowingly and nodded without a single trace of anger. The father and son let out a long breath. "Sir." Wu Jiangtao hesitated before getting straight to the point. "My company wouldn't look into Sir's credentials, a practice my company has followed since it was founded, and Sir can trust us to use everything in our power to seal the deal. However," "What, Chairman Wu? You can just say it." "Having gone over to the city lord to get his approval, we had no choice but to report on the items being sent and forced to hand over Sir's items." He got so excited that Wu Jiangtao was hesitating, putting on a heavy grimace. "He wants to meet with Sir and discuss." Zhuo Fan's brow shook. "He wants to talk with me." "Of course, as Sir entrusts us with all the process, Sir wouldn't want to have to deal with such pesky people. If there's anything not to your liking, you can leave it to our company to proceed, although I'm afraid that it will take some time. Please be patient." Wu Jiangtao and Wu Ran's bowed, looking ashamed. Zhuo Fan's eyes flashed, not minding it at all. "It's fine. There's no trouble. I'll just have to go through with visiting the city lord. Since I received his invitation, I'll be honored to go with you to meet with him." "Haha, that's great. We'll take you there, sir. I'm afraid the city lord isn't like us, and will demand some information. Please forgive us, sir. If at any time his questions are invasive, Sir can leave it to us." "You're so thoughtful. Thank you." Zhuo Fan smiled. The father and son were humbled. "It's only right." Zhuo Fan followed the two to a grand castle, taking 1 hour to get there. There were guards on each side, standing at attention to welcome them. They were expecting them, not even sending someone to report their arrival, only showing them in with a bow before an impressive door. "Knock. Who is it?" "Lord, it's Wu Jiangtao, and we have brought the Sir along." "Haha." Gold Boss City's true man in charge laughed and was quite humble, as if this nominal city lord was the actual ruler of the city. A bright laughter welcomed them. "Haha, great. Please come in, mogul." The door opened for the trio, and they entered with shock. The decoration in this place had them astounded, or maybe impressed. The tons of jewelry and wealth notwithstanding, what drew the eyes were the many glittering plates dangling from the ceiling, feasting their eyes with their fragrance. On the floor, there were many channels crisscrossing around until they gathered up ahead to a huge pond, soothing their minds with the smell of wine. In the middle of that pond was a ball of blubber, his lower body covered with silk, leaving his round and huge reflective belly out in the open. 2 girls hung on his arms, being quite promiscuous in their gestures. So this thing was Bailey Jingyu, the city lord of Gold Boss City? Well, he's rotten enough to look the part, and even stay at Radiant Stage for so many centuries. And he was of the imperial family, having the patriarch's blessings and a stream of endless pills and spirit stones that should have placed him on the finish line from the start. Radiant Stage could be overlooked, but that protruding belly he cultivated all these years made him a first-class idiot. He must have used all those pills and money to get his fat to focus on his huge gut. Humph! One look at that hideous swell, and you'd know it was built on people's suffering. Zhou Fan cared not about stuff like that. He only wanted to know when this fat man would let him use the commercial line. So, this is debauchery in the truest sense. Lord must really enjoy himself. Ha! Zhou Fan chuckled, looking around the ball of fat lit up, and gave a thumbs up. Sir, it's amazing to notice how I'm recreating the wine pond and lavish food plates of the ancients. We're the same. Ha ha ha. Screw you. Even a blind guy could see where all this food and wine comes from. And what kind of ancients have you been following after? The dumbest kind. Zhou Fan's face twitched. This moron is rotten to the core. And the worst part, he takes pride in it. Letting Bailey Jingwei stay in Gold Boss City was giving tons of power over to Serene Shores Trading. Sir, I always ask every guest that comes here what they think of the decor. None of them answer. Only you. I can tell you're a man of culture, bosom buddies. Ha ha ha. Ugh, gag me with a spoon. Bailey Jingyu stood, and the silk on his lower body slipped and drifted with the wine, and the girls at his side got a cape to drape on him. It was such an outrageous view that it even got the humbled Wu Jiangtao to turn his head with a red-faced Zhou Fan was utterly speechless. Dude, this is just common courtesy, and yet you're rolling in it without shame. I've seen my fair share of degenerates, but you're the very first to take so much pride in it. You're a real eye-opener. Though Zhou Fan was not about to be so blunt, simply chuckling and nodding. I must say me and City Lord are kindred spirits, friends in the same field. It must be fate that had us meet. I like what you're saying, sir. In all my years, no one has ever touched me with their words like you do. Sit, sir, please. Bailey Jingyu's eyes lit up in joy and pointed at an ostentatious chair at the side. The father and son looked at each other and sighed. Bailey Jingyu is such a degenerate, he believes anything he says. Chapter 960, Ganging Up. Chapter 960, Ganging Up. Proofreader, Papatonks. Zhou Fan and the Wu father and son pair sat down, with Bailey Jingyu also taking the main seat in all his indecency, with just a white silk across his bulging midsection. As for the two girls, they kept serving him regardless. Sir, since we're bosom buddies, I hope you won't mind while I talk with you like this. Not like I'll change even if you do. This is how I've always been in Gold Boss City, a man of my word and headstrong. Lord, never ever change. I love your character. Zhou Fan waved his hand, showing his admiration. The Gold Boss City is your domain, and no one can stop City Lord from doing what he loves. Make sure to kick out anyone who disapproves of it. Let the world see who's the man in charge, who is the true City Lord. Bailey Jingyu's eyes lit up, then stood and walked to Zhou Fan. He reached out his blubbery hand and shook Zhou Fan's heart. Brother, friend, why couldn't I have met you earlier? Everyone says that I should act my station and be more of a city lord, but only you understand my pain. I wish we could have met ages ago. The feeling is mutual. Zhou Fan smiled, taking his hands out of those trotters with a touched expression that got Bailey Jingyu even more overjoyed. This was what it meant to go on an endless search only to just look around to find what you needed. Anyone would be thrilled about meeting a friend that knew you best. The Wu father and son's faces fell, their minds frantic. They worked so hard to get the capricious tub of lard to fall in line. Yet this kid showed up with a few words and had him at his whim. Bailey Jingyu has no sense of self. He's only being overly nice since he'll be leaving anyway. He wants nothing to do with you, unlike us who are stuck with you. He doesn't care, but we do. You just let yourself go and enjoy his praises. Anyway, that's something we can never stomach. I him. Wu Jiangtao cut off the twos, touching friendship, and smiled. City Lord, sir wishes to speak with you about the commercial line. Would it be possible to go easier? Oh. Bailey Jingyu's face changed, taking back his fat hands and sitting in his chair with a frown. It's a problem, all right. Chairman Wu, the commercial line is only used to transport goods, a channel approved by the other 4 states. But as it is on the Empire's domain, it's under tight jurisdiction. It's not something to be used on a whim. A serious inspection will have to take place each time it's activated along with thorough examination. I may be the City Lord of Gold Boss City and wield great power, but I have great responsibilities as well. I can't just approve of it out of the blue. Who will be held accountable of any mishaps? Wu Jiangtao frowned and nodded. We know Lord's pain, but Sir is our most important client. Please, City Lord, help us out and be a little flexible? What flexible? Bailey Jingyu huffed. Do you know who's behind him? Do you know anything about why he wants to use the commercial line? No, you don't. So how can I be flexible? Every use of the commercial line must be put on record. Wu Jiangtao looked at Zhuo Fan and lowered his head. Zhuo Fan looked at the three of them with an impassive face. Is the fatso that stubborn? He's been dealing with Serene Shore's trading for years, yet never gives them any leeway. Two bosses can't ever reach a consensus. Then there's this old Wu's attitude. He's acting like he's doing me a favor, but actually telling the fatso what to do. Are they ganging up on me, is that it? Zhuo Fan squinted, putting his plan in motion. Lord, as bosom buddies, I hope to enjoy Lord's power for one tiny matter. But I guess City Lord is tied down by his duty, your power being so different from any other City Lord and can't do everything. I'm sorry for my rudeness, but I'll have no choice but to travel all the way to the imperial capital and use talk with the other lords. Zhuo Fan stood up, walking and muttering. The City Lord holds no power here, and the city would be better off without one. What a pain in the ass. Who said that? The ball of fat rumbled in anger. My word is law here. If you want to do anything, I vow to make it happen. Truly, yes. Bailey Jingyu nodded heavily. Zhuo Fan spoke with a smirk. I want to use the commercial line. Not a problem. Old Wu, get ready for him. Bailey Jingyu declared, "Ahe him." Wu Jiangtao had to interject again with a red face, trying to get him to cool off, but the Lord was blinded by anger. Old man, enough with the coughing. Just go home and fix it. Anyway, it'll take 3 days to get the commercial line ready. Then you can use it. I'm the Lord here, and what I say is law. Thank you so much, oh great City Lord. Zhuo Fan cupped his hands and left. He only got to the door when the fatty shouted, Wait, come back. What is it, City Lord? What thanks are you talking about? Bailey Jingyu felt his dignity insulted, put on the spot, and made promises while forgetting to ask for demands. Only now he recalled that he was getting nothing for it, so he was downright blunt about getting a bribe beaming. Zhuo Fan held out his ring, and the fatty raised his and knocked with it. Zhuo Fan wiggled his eyebrows. City Lord, recognize this? It's amazing. 100,000 demon spirit stones. Bailey Jingyu showed a wide smile and nodded. Sir is a true friend indeed. Next time you drop by Gold Boss City, don't forget to pay your friend a visit. Of course, City Lord, I'll never forget you. Zhuo Fan left with a smile. Bam. The door slammed shut and Zhuo Fan's face was ice cold. Damn you, Serene Shore's trading, you dare gang up on me? Too bad the moment I saw the fatso, I kicked you from being the middleman. But next time we meet, all your company will be in my pocket, humph. Zhuo Fan's eyes flashed and smirked. After he left, Wu Jiangtao turned to the pleased fatty. Lord, this isn't anything like we agreed upon. How so? Didn't I get him to fork some more goodies? Bailey Jingyu fondled his ring and showed a depraved smile. Wu Jiangtao's beard shook. We still know nothing about him. How are we going to hold talks with him? How are we going to negotiate? Isn't that your company's rule, to not look into your clients? This is different. You know very well how important these are. Wu Jiangtao gnashed his teeth. It's beyond even the North Sea gel. With a monopoly on it, nothing can shake our position in the 5 lands, and all the profits will be ours. All the powers will scramble to buy from us, and we'll have control over the 5 lands market. And you will reap immensely from it. You dare give something so serious to other lands? If Prime Minister gets word of this, Bailey Jingyu gave him a cold look. Wu Jiangtao spoke. Lord, we're both clear of your integrity, or lack thereof. Since when did you care about the Sword Star Empire? Ha ha ha. Yeah, I never did, since it won't collapse. Anything good or bad to it won't mean anything to me. All I care about is endless wealth. Giving the ring a sloppy kiss, Bailey Jingyu grinned. The demon spirit stones in here are way more than you got. With these, I can use them on the other nobles of the imperial capital and take it up a notch. He narrow-minded fool. Wu Jiangtao gnashed his teeth. If we had used this chance to know more about him, we'd have a way to keep in touch, making our supply endless. But now, if he leaves for good, he will be back. How do you know? Think about it. Such a big deal is only done with your serene shores trading. And also, with how agreeable I was, he'll be sure to return. Bailey Jingyu's eyes flashed, Wu Jiangtao's face twitched, and his face fell. This guy's confidence is through the roof, eating up every praise the guy gave. Though he's right about one thing. Only their company got to make such a huge deal. He had nowhere else to go to with this. The father and son eased their worries. Chapter 961, Popular. Chapter 961, Popular. Proofreader, Papatonks. After thinking it over, Wu Jiangtao and Wu Ranz exchanged a glance and sighed in regret. They planned on bringing Zhuo Fan to the city lord so they could flank him on both sides and gain his trust to lead to a better cooperation. But this guy broke it off completely. Bailey Jingyu was so moronic and useless that a bit of praising got to his head and got him to accept anything on the spot. Anyone that had met with Bailey Jingyu had some, if not complete, disgust for this city lord over his degeneracy. To keep such revulsion hidden and simper in such a smooth way was an amazing talent in and of itself. Wu Jiangtao took a deep breath and addressed Bailey Jingyu. City lord, the talk now didn't even earn us his identity. Were we supposed to put on record? Just put whatever. Haven't we always been doing this? Bailey Jingyu mocked. Don't think for a second that I don't know what you're doing. Only a couple of the transfers are genuinely reported every day, while the rest are fakes. Humph. Wu Jiangtao nodded. Yeah, it's hard to keep them all in the open. It's easy to see it. Wu Jiangtao sighed and left with his son. However, Bailey Jingyu's drawn-out voice came again. Old Wu, do you have any good stuff around? Mind sending some my way? Wu Jiangtao jerked, knowing where he was going with this, and turned to the two girls. Lord, don't you already have them? I've been upping my cultivation regime and need many more cultivation cauldrons. Wu Jiangtao sighed. City Lord, it would have been so much better if that was so, and you wouldn't have stayed at just the Radiant stage. Why lie when you're clearly out to have fun with them? Yeah, I got bored of them and want new toys. No longer bothering to cover up his vices, Bailey Jingyu spoke the truth. But then he changed topics. Also, I don't want someone from your clan. I don't want to get burned. Wu Jiangtao chuckled. Lord, what's that supposed to mean? You know well enough. Bailey Jingwu scoffed. I didn't use to see what you guys were up to or how things are done. But working together these past 2 years, even a fool would know. 3 years ago, you sent that girl over so your son would make a scene and then threatened me to break it off with Bailey Jingwei. Don't think I don't know what you've been doing these 2 years. Be thankful I'm still keeping the peace. All I ever care about is going on as I am, enjoying the carefree life of City Lord. So don't ever try to play me. Wu Jiangtao nodded. All right, it's not any trick anyway. I only did that because you were getting out of hand and needed to be reined in. Wealth and politics don't match. The golden rule of our company. As long as you stick to your business, we'll stick to ours. Get some rest. City Lord, I shall take my leave. Furthermore, I'll let you meet our client as you were as a show of strength. Next time, remember to have some decency. You're the City Lord of Gold Boss City, so act like it. Wu Jiangtao left with his son. It's my business how I am, not yours, you old coot. Bailey Jingyu roared behind them, then put on a cocky expression as he returned to his wine bath. What's so wrong about how I am? Didn't someone appreciate me just now? Humph, that sir has good eyes at least. A man of culture, he. Meanwhile, Wu Ranz sported a dark face as he exited the castle. Father, I can't believe that fool actually figured it out. We can't have brother know about this, about sacrificing the brother and sister like that. He'll blow things out of proportions. I know that, but I never expected this to remain hidden forever. Wu Jiangtao turned cold. To control the 250th City Lord, I had to take appropriate measures. The only reason I bother trying to keep it hidden from Randong is due to his temper. Anyway, watch your brother and don't let him get close to that dumb City Lord. Also, where's the client? We have to stick around as much as possible over the next 3 days and gain this big fish's trust. Wu Ranz nodded with determination. Don't worry, father. I'll make it so he will be sure to cooperate with us indefinitely. Wu Jiangtao nodded, showing his confidence in his eldest son. Over the next 3 days, Wu Ranz was hard at work as the best host out there to Zhuo Fan. His favoritism didn't stop at showing him the best attractions in town, but also giving no small amount of pills and ores as gifts, all for the sake of give. And Take Fan struck many more deals with Wu Ran's and had given him hundreds of thousands of demonic spirit stones. The joy on Wu Ran's was obvious, taking it as a sign of future, wonderful cooperation thus. Wu Ran's threw himself completely into the task of looking after his most important client, while not forgetting to start selling his prized goods to the outsider. At a premium, of course, and to the high society of the empire money made the world go round. Bailey Jingyu saw the serene shores, trading acting like the best host. And since he finally found a true friend who knew him best at long last, he started giving the same honor as well, showing Fan the city and its impressive sights with the city lord and the company's eldest young master, tending to someone in full daylight. They began catching many eyes and curiosity as to Fan's identity, of course. They learned nothing, as not even the two hosts knew anymore after so much research into anything that might give them the smallest idea as to who this mystery client was towards a tight-lipped man, such as Fan. Any other city lord would instantly grow suspicious and try to get to the bottom of this. Not this lord, though, a hedonist who only cared about himself and had no right to even be a city lord to begin with, was content to let matters rest. As for the Serene Shores trading, they only had money in their eyes, like so. Fan stayed in Gold Boss City these 3 days without anyone finding anything about him. Now the commercial line was ready for his personal use. All formalities were handled by the city lord. Money sure paved the way in this case, just as he was taking young Sanzi to go through into Western lands. A shocking news stirred the entire Swordstar Empire. It led to Fan, the vile demon, finally leaving his mark on the peaceful, rich town of Goldbaugh. One of disaster, Prime Minister, Goldbaugh City's Lord, Bailey Jingyu has sent a gift. May your future be limitless and live forever. In the Prime Minister's house in the imperial capital, Bailey Jingwei just entered his home with Shangguan Feiyun and Danxing Shun. When a servant bowed and presented a black stone, Bailey Jingwei frowned. You mean that idiot Bailey Jingyu sent this? Take it back. I'm going to see the patriarch and have no time for gifts. Heir. The man hesitated. Bailey Jingyu had warned again and again to give this gift to the Prime Minister and pave the way to his career. But now the Prime Minister wouldn't even hear it. Danxing Shin chuckled and advised. Prime Minister Bailey, why must you deny his kind intentions? Ha ha! Dragon cleaving sword king. This guy is as useless as it gets from a human being, an annoying fly who clings to his miserable existence. His gift has strings attached, and I'm not about to gamble with the safety of the Empire over some moron. Bailey Jingwei spoke coldly. Shangguan Feiyun muttered, he's the lord of Goldbaugh City, where Serene Shores trading is. Why then did you place him there if you disdain him so much? For the exact same reason as you mentioned. Bailey Jingwei smiled. Since coming to office, I've promoted trade heavily. By leaving any competent lord behind, then Serene Shores trading wouldn't have grown to this size. Since this deadweight was laying around, might as well use him for something. On one hand, he's there as deterrence, to show that we still care about that place and not let the merchants go overboard. And two, he won't cause any trouble to them. I bet that these past years, that old Wu must have gotten him to play along. Anyway, he's there to keep things in balance, and I don't expect him to do anything worthy of note. Aha! Prime Minister is so shrewd, using everyone to the bone. Not even a dead weight escapes you. Shangguan Feiyun's sarcastic laugh came, then turned to the black stone with a curious gaze. What could this thing be? I've never seen it before. With a vague smile, the servant bowed. Prime Minister and Sword Kings, this is a new item sold by the Serene Shores Trading. That's all the rave right now. In just 3 days, the imperial capital's high class have been fighting over it. City Lord had sent to all the princes and generals without any refusing him. Prime Minister, who only came back to imperial capital, isn't yet aware of this. Just what is it to make it so popular? Shangguan Feiyun held it out of curiosity. Chapter 962, Disaster Struck. Chapter 962, Disaster Struck. Proofreader, Papatonks. The servant was glad Sword King Feiyun showed any interest bowing at once. Sword King, this is called a demon spirit stone, very rare. Unlike spirit stones and sacred stones, it's made of yuan qi that can be absorbed completely without having to transform it like spiritual energy. Great amount of yuan qi is at your fingertips, no longer suffering exhaustion while cultivating. Its benefit is even more apparent at the cusp of advancing, pushing you forth without any impediment. My lord has advanced once more after a pause of 20 years. The high class of imperial capital has also experienced swift growth and improvement. They have only words of praise for this demon spirit stone. That good. Shangwan Feiyun's brow shook, looking from the Black Rock to Bailey Jingwei. Prime Minister, since it's so great, give it a try. Maybe in a few years you might reach the Genesis stage and become seasoned in politics and in power. Bailey Jingwei rolled his eyes. Sword King Feiyun, since this rock caught your fancy, why don't you try it? Maybe it will soon take you to Patriarch's level, if not higher, beyond the entire world. Shangwan Feiyun chuckled, wide a shake of his head. He flicked his hand, and the stone got thrown back to the servant with disdain. The servant was stunned. He'd been running around the imperial capital's high-class district for days now, and everyone was excited by such an item. Even fighting for it, even those clueless of its use changed tunes the minute they heard his explanation. So why are these three so disparaging of it? Have they seen too much that they already knew of the demon spirit stone? That can't be it. It's obvious from their reaction that it's their first time seeing it. That got the servant even more confused, sighing inside. This is the difference between true men and those in the secular world. They show no desire, even in the face of such a prized item. Truly, men of worth. Go tell Bailey Jingyu not to send any more of these to the imperial capital. Serene Shore's trading never lacked such items. I don't care where they end up, so long as it's not in the central area, or they'll have to answer to me. Then Bailey Jingwei's tone changed as he shouted. Also, I didn't put him there, so he could use the official military line for his convenience and send gifts all over the place. The next time I find he's using it for something trivial like this, I'll send him packing. The servant was dumbstruck. What is this? Is it wrong of the city lord to use the official line to supply the imperial capital with such important goods? Moreover, even if the Grand Prime Minister doesn't like the gift, he shouldn't just banish it from the central area. This is something that can make many experts fly through the layers. It's nothing but good for the empire. My lord can see it, and so can Serene Shore's trading. It makes no sense for the Prime Minister and two Sword Kings not to understand this simple truth and shun such a great item. How peculiar, just were they thinking? Dan Xing Shun came to enlighten him. Kid, cultivation means going against natural order, a road fraught with suffering and pain. Only through willpower can you cross it and reap the rewards. That little bauble you brought him makes it too easy. Anything too good is against the world, against the essence of cultivation. That's why Prime Minister had the foresight to forbid it from becoming mainstream in the empire. We've been training for years and years, learning one crucial fact: haste makes waste. Shangwan Feiyun said, after taking many pills to advance, time's needed to stabilize the new power before one can continue cultivating, or mistakes will be made that affect your future. This thing might be taken by those rash and impatient youths, but to the 9 Sword Kings and some peak Genesis old farts, it's frowned upon. Cultivation in the end is based on you and you alone. That is the only way to reach the top, and not through boosts. Using this thing will make things way too easy, making true experts a rarity. It's only going to destroy many people's lives in the end. Prime Minister's farsightedness is a true rarity. It's amazing how beside we old guys, knowing its detriment, Prime Minister as well could see at a glance. Ha ha ha. Eyes flashing, Bailey Jingwei sneered. I am no Sword King, obsessed with cultivation, but I can still see this truth. Everything is built on hard work and not by taking the easy way out. Easy come, easy go. The easier it is to make experts using this thing, the faster we're going to lose them. Everything is in balance. The more you're willing to give, the more you'll have to gain from it. Nothing can change this. Sometimes you're greedy, but most times you need to rein it in. especially against something that moves your very soul. The bigger the greed, the harder the fall. Prime Minister is so wise. I am in awe. Dan Shin nodded with a smile. The servant was frozen in place. What should have been something that drove people crazy, these men in power saw it as nothing but a disaster. Men of real power see things through different eyes than the rest of us. So the guy looked at the rock in his hand with a new light. His early greed of wanting to skim some for himself was now gone, free of desire and no longer influenced by it. Yes, the world is in balance. The cultivators using the demon spirit stones might go fast, but they'll never reach the top. Taking one step at a time assures me endless potential. They only see what's in front of them, while I keep my eyes towards the future. The guy gave 3 deep bows, looking grateful. Thank you so much, Prime Minister and Sword Kings, for the advice. I'll never forget it. I shall take these demon spirit stones back and give Prime Minister's word to my lord. Bailey Jingwei nodded and dismissed him. Prime Minister, something happened in the Jing Manor. A sudden shout, followed by hasty footsteps, was heard as an honored Genesis stage expert ran to bow before the trio. In fear, Bailey Jingwei asked, "What is it? What happened in Jing Manor?" "Prime Minister, Yu Manor is in trouble. Please come see, Prime Minister. Prime Minister, Master Lu is in trouble. Prime Minister, General Qi has collapsed from heavy wounds. Report, report, report." Shouts were prevalent for a long time as more and more people hurried over to report their own house's serious problems. They were all nervous, and all from important people. Close to 30 houses. Bailey Jingwei had a dark look as he knew things were bad. "We'll first check on Jing Manor." "Yes." The group of guards nodded and followed. Dan Shun and Shangwan Feiyun were idle right now, so they went as well. Bailey Jingwei and his entourage arrived at a lavish manor, with a dazzling plaque hanging at the front gate. Jing Manor. Bailey Jingwei's face darkened as he rushed inside to see Prince Jing's crying concubines in the main hall. Laying down was a husk of what looked like a human, completely black. On a much careful look, it was like a rock, reflecting the sun's rays off him, yet all the women were around this strange rock and crying their hearts out. "Where's Prince Jing?" Bailey Jingwei looked around and demanded, wiping her tears. A woman looked at him through tears and gave a shaky bow as she pointed at the black humanoid rock. "Prime Minister, you're finally here. There's Prince Jing." "What?" Bailey Jingwei gasped. "He's Prince Jing? How'd he end up like this?" With quivering lips, the woman cried even harder. "We don't know. Prince Jing has been in seclusion for the last 2 days, and today came out overjoyed, having finally reached the Genesis stage after being stuck at peak soul harmony stage for so long. But then he began convulsing, letting out a black energy as he turned stiff and ultimately taking this rocky appearance as he died. Chapter 963, March on Gold Boss City. Chapter 963, March on Gold Boss City. Proofreader, Papatonks. Bailey Jingwei's brow shot up as thoughts raced through his mind. How did this happen? Prince Jing's death is just too odd. Dan Shun and Shangwan Feiyun were listening in silence with baffling looks as well. In all their years of doing and seeing killings, there had never been one as weird as this one. This situation was downright bizarre. So much so none could come up with any logical explanation. The servant bearing gifts slipped over, and so the black corpse then looked down at the demon spirit stone in hand with a deep frown. "That's strange. Why is it the same as the demon spirit stone?" "What did you say?" Bailey Jingwei's sharp ears picked his muttering and shot his piercing gaze at him as he demanded, flinching in fright. The servant stammered, "Prime Minister. I mean, the body of Prince Jing is similar to the demon spirit stone city Lord has asked me to gift." "Give it here." Bailey Jingwei's eyes shone and yanked the stone out of his hand. He went by the corpse's side and compared. "It's identical. Prince Jing has turned into a demon spirit stone." SSS. Everyone around him gasped in shock. How does one even turn into something like that? This is absurd. Bailey Jingwei's brow shook. His fists clenched as he pondered. He turned his hard gaze on the women. Prince Jing has been stuck at peak soul harmony stage for 3,000 years. How did he advance? Did he use something like this rock? Yes, It was something similar. The women looked at each other before finally nodding. He only had 120 years left of his lifespan. If Prince Jing couldn't advance in the next century, he would pass away. That's why he's been working hard on cultivating the past decades. It was around 3 days ago that someone had given him something to advance, but I never imagined that. The women burst out crying again. Bailey Jingwei had heard all he needed, setting his fierce eyes on the servant. Tell me, have you been here 3 days ago to give Prince Jing such a stone? Yes, the servant then exclaimed and hesitated. Per city lord's request, all high class in the imperial capital have been given some. Bailey Jingwei's face was hard as ice, his eyes stony. Then, all those manors from which the guards came to my house to report. Have you been to those places as well? That does seem to be it. Then how many more have you gone to? 2/3. Bailey Jingwei gnashed his teeth as he roared. Guard, take this guy and go to every house that hasn't come to report. Take every one of those demon spirit stones and destroy them. The rest of you, come with me to the other manors. Yes, sir. The guards bowed and split in 2 groups, one to collect the black rocks, the other to investigate the reports with Bailey Jingwei, Prince Yu, Master Lu. Everyone actually that had been reported were turned into the same kind of weird black rocks as Prince Jing. All of them had been frantic in cultivating with the demon spirit stones these past 3 days. The answer couldn't be more obvious. Shangguan Feiyun mocked every single petrified corpse. Morons, this is what greed gets you. What's worse is, you're all officials of the Empire, yet so gullible to believe in this fantasy. Greed is the root of all evil. You haven't even reached the end of your days, yet have destroyed yourself over it. Ha ha ha. Yeah, these are all important officials of the Empire, some in the court while others in the military. With dozens of empty seats now, it'll be hard to find able replacements. Dan Shun's cold eyes watched everyone. This is bound to reap the lives of 1/3 of the Empire's officials. Prime Minister, you're about to be a whole lot busier soon, with no one else to delegate work. Shangguan Feiyun eyed him, and both of them cracked up, not like they gave a damn about these poor, gullible souls. Good riddance. They asked for it. The Prime Minister was the one who got the short end of the stick. With no one left to help him out, he was going to have many sleepless nights soon. He'd hardly have the energy to go visit any other Sword King. Dan Shun enjoyed his misfortune. Now, those piercing eyes would no longer be on them. It was getting restless having Bailey Jingwei behind them every step of the way. Only the Prime Minister was about to blow a gasket. 1/3 of the imperial capital's high class just died. It was bound to affect the Empire's stance. The longer this gross lack of manpower remained, the worse the decline. This was a matter of utmost importance that had to have a guilty party. As for who, that was left to who did it. Bailey Jingwei squinted and spat through gnashed teeth. Guards, assemble the entire Imperial Guard and open the official line. We're marching on Gold Boss City. Humph, Bailey Jingyu, you waste of a man you wanted to bribe, is that it? I hope you're happy. Your bribes have brought me down on you like the king of hell to put you in your place. The 2 Sword Kings were laughing it up in the background. Meanwhile, back to the City of Gold, the clueless city lord and Serene Shores Trading were relishing in their sudden immense success, sir. Unlike the official line, the commercial line needs time to be set up. From the central area's hinterlands, there are thousands upon thousands of miles before we reach western lands. The amount of sacred stones needed is sizable. Now, after 3 days of work, the array is ready for Sir to use. Please forgive us for the delay. Behind Serene Shores Trading's main manor, sacred stones were glittering like stars in their specific position. A quick look will easily tell there were millions upon millions. In the center of it, there were also flashes of lightning and strong gales as a pitch-black tunnel warped the space. Eldest young master wore the same fake smile as always, standing before the portal and bowing to Zhuofan. Around him were many Genesis stage elders, over 100, here to send Zhuofan off this one to show just how important this client was to Serene Shores Trading. Zhuofan nodded and placed Gu Santong on his back with a smile. Please, you've been looking after me these days, and I can't thank you enough. Moreover, this parting won't be forever. We'll be working together for years to come. I will have to trouble you then again. Truly? That's great. My company welcomes you with open arms. Wu Ran's laughed and bowed while still clueless as before pertaining to who Zhuo Fan was. He was happy knowing their dealings wouldn't end soon. They didn't really care about his identity anyway. And since he was tight-lipped about it, they had to drop it. They were content with just being his partner in all the deals and gaining so much from them. Merchants were inseparable from profits. They only had eyes on money and more money. Friendship was never part of the package, nor was one's identity a necessity, sir. How will we keep in touch? I'll contact you. Zhuo Fan gave a vague smile as he changed topics. How come I don't see the city lord around? These days he has been quite close to this fellow brother. Wu Ran showed his disdain as he whispered, Sir, City Lord only thinks with his lower head and betrays anyone for money. It's best if you don't have high hopes for him. Just as Sir's about to leave, the prettiest flower of southern lands arrived in our city, immortal healer Murong Shui. He, of course, was happy to welcome her. To show off his power, he also had Father go along. That's the only reason Father would not be seeing Sir off. Southern Land's immortal healer, Murong Shui. Zhuo Fan got curious. I remember now, she's the sister of Murong Lai, the ardent sun sword god, the best in Southern Lands. She sure has a lot of guts to waltz into the central area with how tense the two lands' relations are. Wu Ran's nodded. Sir, the people of the central area cherish their reputation. We aren't about to use the best in Southern Land's sister to threaten them into submission. Moreover, Prime Minister Bailey Jingwei is an expert in mind games. He had succeeded in pursuing Dan Xingshun and Shangguan Fiyun to defect to the central area, the once best in Western Lands and Eastern Lands, respectively. He would never lower himself to touch his sister. That would cut off any means of peace talks. This makes the central area the safest place for Murong Shui. No one will be attacking her, not when they're actually protecting her. Sure, there are those lusting after her as well. Chapter 964, Poison Swan. Chapter 964, Poison Swan. Proofreader, Papatonks. Zhuo Fan chuckled with a resigned shake of his head. Eldest young master is taking a stab at City Lord Bailey Jingyu? But anyone would want to aim above their status, because everyone wants to have swan meat every day, only to realize in the end they had grown overconfident in their skills. Eldest young master, haven't you wished of being a toad as well? Please don't joke, sir. My toadeye attempt ended in failure. She is the princess of Southern Lands, and there's no way she'd look at someone from a mere merchant clan. Actually, business is like courting, the process showing results when each side has similar values, while the talks would fail if the balance is tipped. From then on, I not once tried to engage in such businesses. Wu Ran showed a self-deprecating smile. Zhuo Fan's eyes glinted. So you went after Murong Shui with the intent for business. I can see why you failed, but the defeat that time doesn't seem to have taught you a lesson. Your toad impulses are still there. Just that if by some chance you get to taste that lovely swan meat, wouldn't you suffer in the end by finding out it's poisoned? What? Wu Ran's was stunned. Zhuo Fan grinned. You'll know soon enough. In any case, thank you so much. I'll eagerly await our next cooperation. You're most welcome. It's my company's honor to have such dealings with a valued guest such as yourself. I hope the next time we collaborate, we'll become closer. We sure will, although I can't say for sure if we'll meet again. With a weird grin, Zhuo Fan gave him a long look and carried young Sanzi as he went for the commercial line. Eldest young master, till next time. I hope we'll see each other next time, though it might prove difficult. Whoosh. The pitch-black portal swallowed him as he gave one last vague smile to Wu Ran's, leaving him standing there in doubt. What did he mean by that? A frantic elder ran before him. Eldest young master, Miss Murong Shui's carriage is about to arrive. I know your proposal failed last time, but business was still possible. Our branch in the Southern Lands needs the Murong name to work. I know that. Now that the business with one valued client has been concluded, it's time for the next. Wu Ran sighed, and the whole group flew toward the city gate. There was a huge crowd at the gates, with Bailey Jingyu looking prim and proper in the lead, and Serene Shore's trading chairman, Wu Jingtao, standing beside him. neither arrogant nor servile rumble. Loud noise grew bigger and bigger as a carriage drawn by 3 third-level spiritual beasts rushed towards the city at breakneck speed. Zhuofan would have definitely flinched at such a view, since it was the same carriage that saved his son, Ahehem. Bailey Jingyu coughed as the carriage slowed down. He put on a beaming smile, eager to welcome the new guests with the others close behind Ho. With a pull on the reins, the carriage slowed to a halt, and a 17-year-old girl jumped out looking at the sea of people. Gur chuckled and looked back. Young miss, by the looks of it, you've got another pursuer here. Just some commoners, go right in. Can't, the people are blocking the road. Unless you want to trample them. Zhur shook her head. Bailey Jingyu rushed over, simpering at Zhur, then saying, Welcome, welcome, immortal healer Murong. I am Bailey Jingyu, the lord of this humble city. I've heard so much about you that when I learned of your passing through here, I grew so excited that I could barely sleep in hoping to meet you. Now that we finally get to talk, would it be possible to allow me a glimpse of your fair face, my lady? Obscene, immoral, swine. Such were the colorful thoughts of the people around him, knowing he was hitting on her for his own greed. Though none had the stomach to voice it, while this guy here didn't give a hoot about the city's state. He was its lord and had some kind of dignity that shouldn't be called into question so easily. Then again, was Murong Shui a nobody? Would she just take his words? Of course. Is Serene Shore's trading chairman, Sir Wu, here? Ignoring him completely, a melodic voice came from within the carriage. The lecher instantly got hot and bothered the minute that soothing voice pierced his ears. Wu Jingtao stepped forward and cupped his hands with dignity. Miss still remembers me? I'm most honored. How may I be of help? I'll do all I can for Miss Shui. It's nothing much, just that I want to hurry back to northern lands, being travel-worn and wishing to use your company's commercial line. Would it be possible? Of course, no problem at all. I wholeheartedly approve of Miss' request. The one to speak was not Wu Jingtao, but Bailey Jingyu, striking the perfect image of a local thug. If this old man can't lend you the commercial line, I will have the official line at your disposal instead. It should be far more convenient. Zhuayer's face twitched when she heard the city lord's outrageous attitude of an upstart. How the hell did he even become a city lord to begin with? He's nothing but a thug. With his type in every city, there's no point of the Four Lands Alliance, not when the Sword Star Empire would eat itself from the inside. Wu Jingtao gave him a look. This fool is like a whiny child that wants attention, so I'll give it to him. Since City Lord said so, I of course allow it. It shall be at Miss' disposal when she wants it. Ha ha ha. Giving Wu Jingtao a look, Bailey Jingyu nodded in excitement. The old coot knows when to play along. Then thank you, Sir Wu and City Lord. Murong Shui had to pause there for a second. Bailey Jingyu beamed like a sun at noon. It's nothing at all. He, whoosh. Just then, several people flew down before the carriage. Wu Ran's signaled his father that Zhuofan left and bowed to the carriage. Miss Murong, it's been a while. I welcome you to Gold Boss City. Young Master Wu, hello. Have you been well lately? Thank you, miss, for your thoughts. Wu Ran's showed his signature dead smile. The voice from the carriage came after a long, pregnant pause. Young Master Wu is still the same. I hope your company will grow even bigger in the southern lands. Thank you, miss, for your thoughts. Wu Ran's smile. Murong Shui shook her head. The eldest young master Wu still only cares about money. It's the only thing he sees. He has no emotion whatsoever, just like before. Murong Shui felt disappointed, having felt something for him last time. But after finding out his character, disappointment hit. After all these years, this man had not shown a single change, not 1 ounce of growth, becoming such a letdown to her. Bailey Jingyu saw Wu Ran's being all friendly with her and felt envy. He butted in, of course. Miss Murong, you've come such a long way to Gold Boss City. Allow me to present you with a gift. It won't be necessary. Thank you, City Lord. Murong Shui shot him down flat. Bailey Jingyu didn't know when to quit, pushing it. Miss, you must accept my gift. As the City Lord, I vow to not disappoint Miss. You all know who my young miss is, right? You think just anything will catch her fancy? Zhu'er mocked. Bailey Jingyu gave a dumb, degenerate giggle, opening a box to reveal a black rock. Miss, this is a very rare item that in your lifetime you'd never experience such. His words got cut off as a black mist was coming out of his pores from his frozen body bam. He was then having violent seizures, collapsing and thrashing on the ground with foam at the mouth as black smoke oozed out of his body. In mere moments, his entire body turned pitch black and hardened. It was as if he was becoming the same black rock he was trying to gift, the same rock that had now rolled next to his stiff body. Everyone cried out in panic, with Zhu'er shouting, "Miss H." Whoosh! A figure in white suddenly appeared, coming out of the carriage and standing before Bailey Jingyu. Chapter 965, Haunting Soul. Chapter 965, Haunting Soul. Proofreader, Papatonks. Skin white as snow, soft brows like a dancing willow, cheeks rosy like a fresh peach, delicate like a blade of grass, and eyes clearer than the pure spring were the only ways such beauty could be described. Yet it still failed to do her justice. Murong Shui had come out in the open, stunning every single person with her visage. She lives up to her name as the best beauty in southern lands. The ever-writhing Bailey Jingyu forgot all about his pain as he looked at this angel that had graced him with her presence. With a gunny look, Murong Shui kept a frosty expression, checking his pulse and sending warm and fuzzy yuan qi in his body. She was better off not knowing, the discovery ending up being the shock of her life as she winced. Just what on earth is this? Young Miss H, how is he? Zhu'er rushed over, watching as Bailey Jingyu was hardening under her very eyes and taking a dark color. Murong Shui was grave, shaking her head. I don't know. His body is baffling. Something black is eating him from the inside. Even my own yuan qi. I don't know what that thing is, but it has to be brutal. Everyone else nodded while scared. They looked at her and wondered how Murong Shui was going to save him. This young miss wasn't just a way too pretty face, also known as an immortal healer, and for good reason. Hey, what do you think you're doing? Zhu'er shrieked, getting everyone's attention. The ever-blackening Bailey Jingyu's eyes drunk in Murong Shui's every lovely and intoxicating feature as he strained with all his being to touch her perfect hand. It was like his life depended on it. His lust was plain for all to see. Miss Murong, you truly are perfection. Everyone's faces twitched in unison. A leopard doesn't change its spots after all, especially a deviant like him. Death is just around the corner, yet he still has the time to flirt with girls. Murong Shui grew icy, clenching her fists and gnashing her teeth. The only thing stopping her from lashing out and leaving a deep print on his face was his already wretched state. She had seen her fair share of womanizers who only cared about flirting, but in regards to Bailey Jingyu, she needn't bother with putting him in his place as his outstretched hand for her delectable soft skin stiffened in place. Though the desire in his eyes was never quenched, his body just wouldn't follow along with his wants even as his last vestige of life flew away from him. Swallowed by the darkness within, he had become a black rock in the flesh. Just like that demon spirit stone nearby, everyone was stunned by such a development. How could a healthy man, by all accounts, just turn into a rock without rhyme nor reason? Moreover, his death was so queer that had everyone around feel a chill down their spine. Miss Murong, what just happened? Wu Jiantao bowed to her and asked. Murong Shui shook her head with doubt. I don't know either. In all my years as healer, I've seen my fair share of odd illnesses, but never one as strange as this. It has similarities with poison from such a violent reaction, but it really isn't. It's more similar to a demonic cultivator's curse or demonic parasite, but even that isn't entirely true. I just can't explain it. Whoosh! Hundreds of men suddenly showed up from the heart of the city in an unending stream. The man in front elicited endless gasps of shock from the crowd around. Prime Minister, what has brought Sir all the way to Gold Boss City? Where is that rotten bastard, Bailey Jingyu? I've used the official line to go thousands of miles all the way over here, only to hear he's out welcoming guests. Humph, now where is he? I have a score to settle with him. Bailey Jingwei was livid, disregarding anyone around him. As if on cue, all eyes fell on a weirdly shaped black rock on the ground. Bailey Jingwei followed their gaze and knew immediately what happened as he jeered. This useless bastard got what he deserved to die the same way. You got lucky you got off so easily, or I would have made sure you'd leave squealing. Prime Minister, can I assume from your words that you know what's happening? Oblivious of the crimes Serene Shores Trading had committed, in Bailey Jingwei's eyes, Wu Jiangtao had the poor inspiration of putting himself up for a lashing as he bowed and scraped. We just witnessed the city lord die out of the blue. Can it be that something is going on? Bailey Jingwei cocked an eyebrow and mocked. Old Wu, you dare show yourself to me? Your company actually have no idea why he died. Prime Minister, what do you mean? Wu Jiangtao jerked in fright. He felt like the usual Bailey Jingwei, who cherished talent and was nice to them, was no longer around. He looked royally pissed, and it was their fault. They, however, were oblivious as to what wrong they might have committed to earn Bailey Jingwei's ire to such a degree as to make him lose his temper looking at his dumb look. Bailey Jingwei knew he was talking to a wall, so he sneered. Old Wu, you don't know what fine work Serene Shores Trading has done? I came here to ask you where those demon spirit stones came from. You better have a good explanation. Demon spirit stones? Wu Jiangtao and Wu Ran shuddered, then gasped. Prime Minister, why you mean that the demon spirit stone? Humph. Bailey Jingwei flicked his wrist and huffed. I don't know from where you unearthed those rocks, but you went as far as working with that degenerate Bailey Jingyu to spread it to the officials in the imperial capital. You know how that turned out? In just 3 days, a third of princes and generals that used your special rock have turned black and stiff. They died without even knowing why. The death of the Empire's foundation shook the entire nation. Who do you think is to blame for such a tragedy? Just where the hell did you get it from? Everyone from the Serene Shores Trading gasped. Then they looked at the demon spirit stone on the ground with dread. This tiny little thing ruined close to half of the Empire's officials. This is a disaster. The Wu clan was done for. Serene Shores Trading had been the business for thousands of years, only to be cut down in one day. Wu Jiangtao was ashen and shook like a leaf. He staggered and blood spilled from his mouth. Looking to be taken by despair, Prime Minister, our company has sold the demon spirit stone, but it wasn't us who made it. It came from a client. We don't know either how. Wu Ran's rushed to bow and plead, feeling unease as well. Bailey Jingwei mocked. A client who? Tell me his name, his background, his credentials, everything. Well, Wu Ran's face fell. Prime Minister, you know our business model as well. We never ask our clients anything unless they wish to share it willingly. All we know about him is that he wanted to go to Western lands and just use the commercial line while taking an unconscious kid with him. What a child! The rage Bailey Jingwei had so far turned into complete disbelief. What kind of child? How old? How did both of them look? Wu Ran's bowed at once and replied, Prime Minister, the child looked to be an 8-year-old, quite adorable. Only he seemed to have suffered heavy wounds, always unconscious. As for the sir, he was thin, but very shrewd and good at negotiations. No matter how hard I tried, not once did I manage to get any info out of him. Impossible. He didn't die? How is this? Bailey Jingwei shuddered and said in disbelief, he should have been pulverized from Dragon, Cleaving Sword King, so how is he still among us? Young miss, doesn't that sound like that Gu Yifan we just saved? Zhuai, quiet. This isn't our problem. Zhuai couldn't help herself from whispering to Murong Shui when she heard them talking, but the miss warned her. Bailey Jingwei's ears, however, were just too sharp and gasped. You met them? He's called Gu Yifan? When? 3 days ago, we rescued a child and a man from snow. The older one called himself Gu Yifan. Seeing Bailey Jingwei staring hard, Murong Shui spoke of their encounter. Bailey Jingwei grimaced, his eyes shocked to the core. Gu Yifan, you're like a haunting soul. Chapter 966, Clan Ruination. Chapter 966, Clan Ruination. Proofreader, Papatonks. What? Prime Minister knows him. Wu Ran's only now saw Bailey Jingwei, so baffled, and cried out. Bailey Jingwei squinted and gnashed his teeth. Not only no, but he even humiliated me. I thought I got rid of him for good, but now everything's clear. Gu Yifan, this was just another one of your twisted schemes to destroy the Sword Star Empire. Well, the joke's on you. As long as I'm around, you'll never succeed. So what if a third of officials are dead? I just need a bit of time, and everything will be patched up. So what if you stole the soaring sword? The Patriarch is out of seclusion, and the 9 Sword Kings have gathered. The sword will soon be returned. A puny and lone Radiant Stage punk has nothing on me. Gu Yifan. Everyone heard Bailey Jingwei's declaration and now knew the truth. He not only knows him, but they're mortal enemies. But who could be able to get their brilliant prime minister so crazed over one guy? He must be something to fight Bailey Jingwei on equal footing. Murong Shui gasped. Young miss, who knew the ones we saved would turn up to be so important? He even has the renowned Bailey Jingwei worried. Not just worried, but threatened. Murong Shui sighed. Brother once said Bailey Jingwei is the unsung Sword King. Just as good. But to see him so furious over one person and losing himself over it, one can see that Gu Yifan is more than he seems. Zhuer giggled. Does that mean we saved the right guy 3 days ago? The enemy of our enemy is our friend. Saving Bailey Jingwei's mortal enemy will make this wise prime minister lose his focus and will make our grand plan of making the 4-land alliance fruitful. Once we get back, remember to mention it to clan head and get something for it. Hi. You think it's some feat? If I had to do it again, I would have never saved him. Murong Shui lamented. Jair flinched. Young miss, don't you always say that saving a life is better than any honor? Why? Yes, every life is precious, but saving a demon will plunge the world into chaos. Murong Shui sighed and glanced at Bailey Jingyu's black corpse with pain. He's so malicious and enigmatic. Who knows how many other cruel things he might do? And all of this is my fault. I can only hope evil hasn't consumed him, that he will return to the right path and do good with his life. Glancing at Murong Shui then at the black corpse, he fussed. But that's our enemy lying dead there. No matter who it is, all life is precious. None deserve such a cruel ending. It's against all I stand for. No matter what, evil is evil and demonic is demonic. It doesn't matter where he stands. He will never be on our side. Murong Shui shook her head, reaffirming her staunch belief she held within herself. Zhuer nodded. Oh, got it. The next time we see him, I'll get rid of this demon for you, young miss. Murong Shui chuckled and shook her head, just from how serious Bailey Jingwei is treating this Radiant Stage cultivator. You can see how problematic he is. Yet a girl thinks she can best him? Save yourself the humiliation by keeping your bragging to yourself. Prime Minister Bailey, since you know who he is, I ask that you seize him at once. My company, spread throughout the lands, will do everything to help. Seeing the deep loathing in Bailey Jingwei, Wu Rans bowed and declared Bailey Jingwei was not about to let this disaster they caused slide. With just that, Bailey Jingwei wore a cruel smile and said, Eldest young Master Wu, I'm an official, not a merchant, so don't try to haggle with me. Help me? Just how much power do you think your Serene Shores trading has in the world? Don't you fear those leading still? Also, I couldn't get him in the central area. You think you can do it in any other area? And speaking of, why the hell would I trust the same person that helped him escape using the commercial line? Prime Minister, you have to believe me. My company will. Enough rants. Wu Jiangtao shouted at him to stop his desperate attempt at getting out of it scot-free. Wu Jiangtao's eyes shone and spoke through gnashed teeth. Rans, don't waste your breath. Prime Minister spoke clearly. He's an official and not a merchant. He doesn't bargain, but goes as after settling this matter. With Gu Yifan's whereabouts unknown and the empire losing close to half of its high class, shaking the world, someone must take the blame. I believe Prime Minister wants our company and Bailey Jingyu to be the fall guys. Ha. Old Wu, you haven't lost your touch to see the obvious. Bailey Jingwei slowly clapped. I don't care how involved you are in this, whether intentional or not, but since you're in this from the start and it has turned out to be quite the mess, you're liable to pay the price. It's the only way I can present His Majesty and Patriarch with an explanation. This is my accomplishment as a politician, always finding the perfect answer, while ignoring the right and wrong. Wu Jiangtao's face shook and took a deep breath. Then Prime Minister Bailey, how big do you think it has become? Can my life bear it? Don't you think one meager life for half of the empire's officials is a little thin? Bailey Jingwei fixed his cold stare on the old man. Old Wu, the empire thanks you for all the work you have done these millennia in connecting the 5 lands. Too bad this grave matter made serene shores, trading no longer needed in the central area. Wu Jiangtao shuddered at the heavy news. Closing his eyes, the other merchants glared at Bailey Jingwei, with clenched fists behind Bailey Jingwei. All those Genesis experts released their mighty aura. Filled with bloodthirst, Wu Ran started begging for mercy. Prime Minister Bailey, we can talk about this. Ran's, Wu Jiangtao's shout echoed, giving his intelligent son a warm smile. Ran's, I always told you business and politics don't mix. But I never finished it. Wealth can only get you so far, that one's use has an end, and that everyone's expendable. Business grows with the high class and falls with it. Prime Minister has taken such a clear-cut stance with us because he believes we have outlived our usefulness. In other words, Prime Minister's plan to dominate the 5 lands has begun. Our company, connecting them, is no longer deemed important. Bailey Jingwei showed a vile smirk. Old Wu, I never knew you had such foresight for a businessman. Yes, with Patriarch coming out of seclusion and the 9 Sword Kings gathering, fighting the other 4 lands won't be an issue. Once the world is under one banner, there won't be any need for middlemen. While this matter had been the fuse, it was only a matter of time before Serene Shore's trading would be cut off. Prime Minister Bailey, you're a fearsome politician. Everyone says that merchant can't part with their wealth, but politicians? Shameless and unscrupulous, never deserving of any friendship. Wu Jiangtao smiled and sighed. However, Prime Minister, I don't think it'll be that easy for you to remove my company. Ha ha ha. Rands, I always say your brother is impulsive, but now it's my turn to be so. Guards, our company will fight them to the death. Even if we all die, we'll take them down with us. Yes, sir. The men bowed and unleashed their power as they charged. Bailey Jingwei had a cold smirk as he flicked his hand, letting the Genesis guards behind him attack. I knew you were a tough nut to crack, old man. Why do you think I got the Imperial Guard to come? Ha ha! Bang! Aya! The sky rumbled under the loud explosions and shouts as the experts from both sides drew blood from each other. All for the purpose of killing the other Serene Shores. Trading had plenty of strong guards, but could they match the Imperial Guard? Casualties soon mounted to a high degree as howls echoed. Wu Ran's panicked. Father, we won't last much longer. Let's retreat. And where should we run to? There's no place to go. Wu Jiangtao sighed and shook his head in despair. Chapter 967, Lone Survivor. Chapter 967, Lone Survivor. Proofreader, Papatonks. Twitching. Wu Ran's looked at his father. What is the point of fighting Bailey Jingwei to the death? We're only dying sooner. Father, this isn't like you. Yes, not me at all, but like your brother. Wu Jiangtao smiled. Despite lashing out and cursing your brother, I never hated him for who he is. I even felt reluctant to change him. Wu Ran shook and looked at his father in shock with a casual chuckle. Wu Jiangtao sighed. All of us have been impulsive in our youths, but after seeing too much along the years, we smoothened our rough edges and turned to guile. The world matured me to be able to stand, and I changed you so there would be no problems appearing. But I like how your brother always tries to mess things up. He reminds me of myself back in the day. Since our new way is unable to keep us alive, let's be true to our natures, that reckless youth. This way we get to buy Randong some time. Buy time. We're businessmen to the bone, and Bailey Jingwei will never let us go. Unlike us, Randong might survive given his rash temper, since Bailey Jingwei might ignore someone like him. Taking a deep breath, then exhaling, Wu Jiangtao closed his eyes. I always dreamed in my youth of having 2 sons, one outstanding to take on my business, and one ferocious that is to be ignored, for the harsh day that spelled doom for the clan, and he would be alive to carry it on. Bugs are good at staying alive, not because he's tough, but because no one's looking at him. Let Randong have a fulfilling life in our stead. This is what his father and brother should do for him. It's not like we can run away from this anyway. Wu Ran's felt a shock pass through him and sighed in the end. Yeah, I never did anything for him. Now at least I can help him survive. I hope he'll live past today. Wu Jiangtao gave a deep nod at this moment. Father and son no longer worked for money, their eyes turning warm. Despite watching the corpses and blood soaking the ground of their clansmen, it was because they had no fear and felt calmer than ever, having found a reason to fight. Murong Shui sighed. Why are people so oblivious? Why do they only value life when it's about to slip away from them? In the Serene Shores Trading Manor's basement, one lonely man sat on a chair surrounded by many barriers with hazy eyes. That's strange. Just what did he mean? Wu Randong was still contemplating Bam. The huge sound roused him from his thoughts, seeing an old man smashing into the room. All bloody, Wu Randong gasped. Elder, you what? Second young master. Don't ask and just run. The elder made a sign, and the barriers opened. He grabbed his hand and ran. Wu Randong was becoming anxious. Elder, you what on earth is happening? Second young master. Bailey Jingwei has come with his men to destroy us. The Wu clan is being killed off as we speak. How could it have come to this? It's all that demon spirit stone's fault. I fear the chairman and eldest young master are now. The elder's voice trailed with dejection. Wu Randong was overwhelmed, his heart consumed by the devil's words. Better not regret it later. It's him who ruined us. Wu Randong's gaze narrowed and stiffened, carried on only by Elder Yu as he fled Bam. The wall broke just then as the two reached the outside, but what they saw was hell wails of agony and streaks of blood tore the sky as thousands of people were in bitter struggle with one another. Lives were reaped at every second. Slumping in the blood of this hellscape, Wu Randong stood frozen in place. Elder Yu shouted at him to wake up and pointed at the commercial line still activated since they opened it for Zhuo Fan. Second young master. Use the teleportation array and leave. I'll cut it off once you're through. Elder Yu, I won't go. I can't abandon father and brother, or you. I can't go on alone. Second young master. This is no time to be stubborn. I'll clear a path for you. Elder Yu gnashed his teeth and grabbed Wu Randong while flying for the teleportation array. He met two Genesis stage experts midway, risking his own life to force them back, but also suffering greatly for it regardless of his own life. He took Wu Randong to the teleportation array and made the sign special to the Wu clan. With a hum and thunderclaps, the center of the array sported a black portal with a hazy image inside. Elder Yu shoved Wu Randong towards it. Second young master, go. No, Elder Yu. We'll all go. Wu Randong grabbed his hand and wouldn't let go, giving a wide smile. The elder nodded in contentment. But then many figures arrived. Look, someone's activated the commercial line to flee. Stop them. Rotten old man. Who the hell is that kid? You won't get away that easily. By order of the Prime Minister, leave none alive. There will be no survivors. The shouts carried thick bloodlust as they charged over. Elder Yu hardened and used Yuan Qi to send Wu Randong flying into the portal. Elder Yu. Wu Randong howled as the elder grew smaller and said with a fond smile, Second young master, you're not as able as eldest young master, but we, oldies, always like your character. It's like looking at our younger selves. Also, the chairman never hated you. Please don't hold it against him. You are the last hope of the Wu clan and must live on. Stop them, they're escaping. The incoming men rushed faster, and Elder Yu's warm smile fell as blood leaked from his lips, laughing, "Ha! You'll never catch my young master." With ripples coming off his body, the men realized with shock what was happening. He's gonna blow. Boom! Elder Yu already began to explode before they could react, sending a wave of dust all around. The pursuers ended up coughing blood and flung back. By the time they got their feet under them and the dust settled, the commercial line had been broken. They had no way of following now. The fighting at the city gates was drawing to a bloody close as well. Wu clan's fighters were down to their last men, with most dead and the rest captured. As for the father and son, they easily fell into Bailey Jingwei's hands clapping. Bailey Jingwei gave the men a look, and they all flew to the official line. To get back to the imperial capital, Bailey Jingwei walked to the cold spectator of this onslaught, Murong Shui, and smiled. "Greetings, miss. I've been so caught up with business that I forgot my manners. I offer my sincere apologies." "It's fine. I was just witnessing Prime Minister Bailey's handiwork, and I must say you live up to your name." Murong Shui spoke flatly. Bailey Jingwei beamed and shook his head. "Ha ha. There's no need for sarcasm, miss. I'm sure miss overheard my decision. The day the Empire rules the lands is nigh. Miss should consider your brother and advise him to renounce any pointless resistance. I never interfered in my brother's matters. Prime Minister, please have a word with him when you can spare the time." Murong Shui smiled. Bailey Jingwei paused and shook his head. It was clear for what transpired that a third of the imperial capital's official were now kissing the dust. Did he have the time to entertain Murong Lai? Murong Shui's words were no different than a rejection. He wasn't the least bit angry, though, since he was used to these grand experts' behaviors. Patience was a must when trying to win them over. "Miss Murong, what might be the purpose of your visit to Gold Boss City? Is there anything I could assist you with?" "Ha ha ha. I wanted to make use of Serene Shores Trading's commercial line to get back to southern lands. But with Prime Minister sparing none of their men, I'm afraid I will have to walk there. That's out of the question. Such a small matter shouldn't be enough to trouble the merchants. I shall offer the official line for miss instead." Bailey Jingwei waved dismissively. Murong Shui raised a dainty eyebrow and wore a sneer. "That wouldn't do, Prime Minister Bailey, to mix personal and official matters. Helping miss is purely official. If your brother would appreciate the gesture and have a chat with me, it'll be even more selfless." Bailey Jingwei spoke with a straight back. Murong Shui smiled. "I wonder what Prime Minister is so eager to share with my brother, of being expendable and how life has no value. Miss, after you." Bailey Jingwei's face twitched, being jabbed with his own words. His face fell, and his expression hardened. Murong Shui ignored him as she entered the carriage, and it drove it out of the city. Chapter 968. Demon Spirit Stones Origin. Chapter 968. Demon Spirit Stones Origin. Proofreader, Papatonks. Elder Yu. In the wake of thunderclap and violent winds, Wu Randong drifted further and further into the portal. His vision brightened at some point and passed through a bright exit as he stepped on grassland. Looking back, the bright light got cut off and the portal vanished. Wu Randong panicked and shouted, wanted to go save them, but he had no way of going back now. He could only shout himself hoarse at his weakness, heart filled with hatred and sorrow. Steps approached, and a thin man stopped 10 meters behind him, carrying on his back a sleeping child. "Second young master. Who knew we'd meet again so soon? Well met, ha ha ha." Wu Randong shook all over at the familiar and equally terrifying voice. He turned a stiff head to see the same sharp eyes, and fury lashed out from his burning eyes. His desire for this man's blood was plain to see, his knuckles cracking as he made his fists. "Second young master, had you been well the past 3 days?" Zhua Fan, still carrying Gu Santong on his back, ignored the warranted killer vibes coming off Wu Randong, showing his bright and cruel grin with ample meaning. Wu Randong's face twitched and wheezed, gnashing his teeth in hatred. You ruined my family. You had them all killed. Are you sure?" Zhua Fan's smile never faltered, still as infuriating as ever. Wu Randong shook with hatred. "Elder, you told me while he helped me flee that it's because of your damn stones that Bailey Jingwei came to destroy our company. Father and brother's fates are unknown, all because of you, bastard. You owe me thousands of lives." Wu Randong stomped and shot for Zhua Fan with brutal hatred, wanting nothing more than to kill him, and in his pain Zhua Fan wasn't one to follow anyone's wishes, merely sidestepping at the last second and whacking him with his Qilin arm so hard the tough young man was in a 10-meter big crater. Wu Randong bled from the mouth, not even budging in his newfound hole. Not like he could from the immense pressure he felt on his spine as a scarlet arm simply held him there, giving the struggling and Defeated guy a cold look, Zhua Fan mocked. Second young master, you can't beat me, so save your energy. And isn't this what you always wanted? Do you regret it maybe? Cut the crap. When did I ever say I wanted the company? Wu Randong howled in fury, but then he stopped. Frozen stiff, he began to recall something that had him spooked. Zhua Fan grinned and took back his arm, standing and saying, remember now? 3 days ago, at the tavern you said you wanted it destroyed. Shouldn't you be having a victory dance right about now? Ha ha ha. It was only in anger that I said it. How could I want for... Wu Randong winced as he looked at Zhua Fan in regret. There was no way for him to know that this man would take his words seriously and that he had the power to follow through. In 3 days, the company became the Empire's target and burned to the ground. Who is he? The devil? Heart overcome with dread, Wu Randong regarded Zhua Fan in fear. Zhua Fan read him like a book and jeered. Youngster, think before you speak. In anger you say? I took them at face value. You said you wanted it ruined, and so I made your wish come true. I also told you not to regret it, but now, No, I regret it. Sir, I know you're a great man and can save the company along with my father and brother. You have to. I beg of you, save them. Zhua Fan's gaze left Wu Randong, unable to read his intention, and grew more nervous as he begged. Zhua Fan shook his head. Second young master, you can escape every hardship the world throws at you, but never from your own sins. It would have been easy to stop it if I was the sole reason for your company's plight. But since I have nothing to do with it, being the company's sin, I have no solution. Our sin. Yes, sin. Zhua Fan gave a vague smile as he explained. Second young master, haven't you always despised your company's style? Allow me to open your eyes to the cruel truth you'll most certainly hate. 3 years ago, your friend and his sister were sent to Bailey Jingyu by your father and brother. It wasn't that degenerate suddenly taking a fancy of her. What? Wu Randong cried out in denial. No way. You're lying. Zhua Fan smiled. I have no reason to lie to you. This is something I managed to squeeze out of Bailey Jingyu in the last 3 days. Your dad and brother's lips are sealed, but that dead weight just loves to prattle. And your dad did it not to win the fool's favor, but to have leverage over him. The company grew so much because they showed weakness through accommodation, while hiding their strength underneath, doing anything to further their goals. Impossible, those were our guards. Dad would never. Wu Randong was still in denial, refusing to hear a word Zhua Fan said, who continued regardless. Businessmen value money over friendship. To them, everything is weighed. Throwing away 2 servants for complete control over the city lord was a bargain for them. Think back on that event. How did Bailey Jingyu act around your company before and after? Humph, I only needed to use your commercial line for a bit, which hardly warranted the approval of that deadweight. As a result, your father still wanted to gang up with the lord, so he'd milk me for all he could. Simply blinded by greed. Wu Randong shuddered, but then those events played back in his mind. Yes, Bailey Jingyu was very cocky before then after that. Then what about that stone? Didn't you get to us? Whoosh. A black cover spread, and everything turned dark. Wu Randong cried in fright. Domain's soul harmony. Yes, this is my domain. With a hum, the domain brightened, and Wu Randong could see Zhua Fan in front. He had many human-shaped black stones, with looks of fear, horror, and all kinds of pained expressions. The worst part, there were thousands upon thousands of them. Zhua Fan grinned at his achievement. Second young master, what do you think these are? Demon spirit stone? Wu Randong stared. Zhua Fan shook his head. There's no such thing like that in the world. A man's cultivation is based on his own hard work. The world doesn't give shortcuts. These are people. People. Precisely. Zhua Fan nodded with a stony face. I have killed many with this rare, devouring domain of mine, turning them as you see before you. The reason why using the demonic spirit stone got you to fly through the ranks is because you were using another's yuan qi. But this yuan qi was made with my special demonic art. I'm fine if I use them, but I can't say the same for the rest. One's yuan qi becomes infected and would lead to this result as well. Now do you know what got your company to suffer this calamity? It's because the users of this item had died from it. That means you did this to us. No, you did it yourself. Wu Randong accused, but Zhuofan berated in an even higher tone. These Yuan Qi stones are my creation and will be fine using them, but even I won't be reckless and use so many to cause my cultivation to soar. That's because I know greed is our downfall. There are no shortcuts in the world. Using all these stones will lead to an unstable cultivation and a messy Yuan Qi. I don't want to see it happen. I do want to grow stronger fast for my own goals, but I control my desires, exercising moderation. As for your company, they went straight to using it without fully understanding its effects. Now, problems arose, huge ones, threatening their lives and causing their demise. Who is to blame, I wonder? Everything is balanced in the world. Going too far in one aspect and giving up everything else will lead to dire consequences. You've been too greedy, and it was only a matter of time before disaster struck. Not to mention, what? Wu Randong rushed to ask Zhuofan, took a deep breath. Swordstar Empire has wanted to restrain your company for a long time. Today was only the trigger. Even without the demonic spirit stones making a mess of things, one day, the Swordstar Empire would have come for your head using some other excuse. It was only a matter of time. While now, with it coming all of a sudden, the other party suffered out of nowhere and came unprepared, leaving you with a glimmer of hope. You ought to thank me for that. Chapter 969. Deal with the Devil. Chapter 969. Deal with the Devil. Proofreader, Papatonks. What? Wu Randong was shocked after taking down the domain. Zhuofan pointed at the portal's location with a smile. Second young master, ever since I arrived here, I've been waiting here for any movement. If eldest young master, or you came, then it proved your company was in dire straits. If nothing happened in 3 days, then your company must be struggling on death's door still. Wu Randong squinted. I'm watching for Prime Minister Bailey Jingwei's plan. Zhuofan's eyes shone with determination. Speaking of, businessmen and politicians are all alike. They all work for profit, especially for a man like Bailey Jingwei, who governs the empire, abandoning any grudges or favors just so he could see the 5 lands as one. If your company had suffered this time, it wouldn't be because of a mess you might have caused, but for outliving your usefulness. A company so huge that didn't follow orders would one day have Bailey Jingwei eliminated for his big unification plan. Looking dazed, Wu Randong needed a lot of time before he could process this. But the connections we make with every land help the empire. True, and seeing how easy he through your great help showed he didn't care about you. Zhuofan gave Wu Randong a vague smile. How about a wager? In a few days, the Swordstar Empire's power will be leaving the central area. You mean it's going to invade the other lands? Obviously, or why else would he cut the middlemen? You guys have always exercised extreme caution, not to give him anything that might be taken as hostility. So when do people kill someone who isn't your enemy? When they're in your way. Zhuofan chuckled all-knowingly, his eyes twinkling like stars. In the 5-land war, your company's connections to every area instantly became the empire's weakness that had to be cut out. Though killing must always come with reason. How fortunate he had the perfect excuse to act now. When one wants to find you guilty, it was only a matter of time before he found something to pin on you. Luck, however, played a role in your favor. With how sudden it all happened, he was too rushed in his actions, making your branches survive. That's why I've been telling you that you should thank me. I ripped off the Band-Aid for you, ha ha ha. Wu Randong was stunned in place, finally coming to terms with the facts as they went through his head. Now, I must go save all those merchants that have yet to die. Right on. You finally get it. Zhuofan grinned. Wu Randong looked around. Where are we? How am I to contact the company? Ha ha ha. Your dad has always cut you off, and you never asked how your family business is run. Since you came through the commercial line, that means this is just another exit of it. Your branch is at the border between the western lands and central area? Wu Randong nodded, then got flustered. A guard sent urgent messages to our other branches. Easy on the ears, please. No one's coming. Zhuofan mocked with a dismissive wave. To have a nice, uninterrupted chat, I had them leave. I'm the only one here waiting for you for 3 days. Wu Randong started. Why would they listen to you? It's remarkable what you can get away with when the company is treating you like their most valued client. Joa Fan took out a golden card, the greatest and most respected symbol in the company across the lands. Your brother gave it to me. A shame I'll never get to see him again. Wu Rondong's heart was in pain as he sighed with a nod. Joa Fan stopped him from leaving though. Hold up. Why? What are you planning? To get someone and send word. What word? Isn't it to flee? Wu Randong stated the obvious. Joa Fan chuckled. With only a couple of vague words, you are laying waste to the foundation your company has built over millennia. Once they hide, everything will fall apart, with everyone abandoning ship. Then what? How will you bring them together again? Do you want to let your father and brother's hard work get destroyed with one word? Or have you forgotten the promise you made 3 days ago about wanting to take over? Wu Randong shook all over, sinking in deep thought. That's right, I'm naive, rash, and stubborn on changing the company by myself. Now that father and brother are gone, I hold all the power. But like a child, he has no idea what to even do. His family business would soon fade away in the 5 lands under him. His father and brother's work would be squandered under his command. He'd be too ashamed to meet his kin in the afterlife like this. Was he really going to end up destroying everything? Wu Randong grabbed his head in regret. Why didn't I work with my father to run the business? You need a mentor to show you the way. Wu Randong jerked out of his misery, looking at Joa Fan's flat expression. He sighed. The elders and venerables must have passed away by now, and I hardly know anyone in the branches. Where could I find someone to help me? Here. Wu Randong just finished and Joa Fan declared. Wu Randong flinched. You? It's not that I want to help you, but to cooperate. Joa Fan set his cold eyes on him. You showed me your great ambition of ruling the company and changing it. I made it reality. You did it by killing my father and brother. I don't want. Wu Randong. Joa Fan's thunderous voice swallowed his dissent. You're not a child and know there are gains and losses. You think you can just change the company that has been around for thousands of years just because you feel like it? History's been written in blood whenever any change occurs. Since you decided on changing it, you need to accept the price. The chairman's seat isn't a breeze, but since you're in it, man up. It's too late to turn back now. All you can do is get the company to follow your vision, or leave it to waste away and ruin all of your father and brother's blood and sweat. Wu Rondong's eyes twitched, then sighed. I'll make the company prosper and not let my father's effort go to waste. But why should I work with you? Why do I feel that when I'm around you, it's like I'm working with the devil? I'm chilled to the bone and always on edge. Ha, that's normal. There's nothing wrong with your instinct, since I am a devil. Joa Fan snickered. In a man's moment of despair, they plead gods or devils. It's only natural to turn to gods. But do you know why some choose devils? Why? A god keeps you safe, but only if you give up everything. As for devils, they take everything you have, but also help you achieve your greatest desire. Joa Fan's creepy smile made Wu Randong uncomfortable. Your situation is quite close to despair as well. So who will you beseech, the god or the devil? Wu Randong squinted, then made his decision. I can't let my father and brother's death be in vain. The company cannot fail. I can never just let go and lead a plain life. We have spared nothing for the betterment of the Sword Star Empire. And where did that get us? I'll make sure Bailey Jingwei and the Star Sword Empire will pay for this. Are you willing to take the company and work for me? Are you willing? No. Are you able to give me revenge? They are Bailey Jingwei and the Sword Star Empire. All I need is time, and it will be done. Joa Fan's eyes shone. Wu Randong nodded at his resolve and declared, Then today I shall make a deal with the devil. Show me how you'll get me revenge for the thousands of men from my company. Let's shake on it. Joa Fan put out his hand with a sinister smile. I told you that we'll be working very closely. Who knew it'd be so soon? Ha. Pa. Wu Randong shook his hand hard, his eyes glittering. Then, sir, what next? You'll be sending every branch a message. From now on, the Serene Shores Trading's personnel will fade into the shadows and from the eyes of the world. Serene Shores Trading will cease to exist in name. When the danger passes, we will come out of the woodwork reborn. Wu Randong pondered and nodded. Then we will suffer silently for now. A gentleman can wait for revenge, even if it's 10 years later. Meanwhile, over a vast stretch of water that was covered in thick fog, the raging waves kept lapping at the shore, echoing the deep bestial roar of the fog. Emitted two gargantuan eyes shone in the fog. With savagery, a middle-aged man stood before the fog with fluttering clothes and a glinting sword at the ready as he charged. Sea demon, for too long you have taken the lives of my people. This stops now. The sea isn't yours alone. I'm going to fight, and if I win, you are to never harm them again. An echoing roar reverberated through the air from the thick fog, followed by a jeer. A puny Genesis stage human dares face me? Enter my domain if you have the stomach, and I shall tear you limb from limb. Bam! Explosions sounded, and the person charged into the mist, waging a cruel battle. Chapter 970, The Fifth Sacred Beast. Chapter 970, The Fifth Sacred Beast. Proofreader, Papatonks. In a lush and verdant mountain forest, a thin man carrying an 8-year-old child was walking through the roaring spiritual beasts of all levels. With none willing to take a single step closer, Zhua Fan carried Gu Santong one step at a time through the familiar woods, toward vaulting Kunping's lair unlike every other time. There was no three-headed crow to give him a lift. The spiritual beasts looked to be under strict orders to stand aside while jeering at this conceited man, coming to their master to admit his mistake. With all the spiritual beasts showing up as he walked, none would lead Zhua Fan. Letting him walk under their mockery, through their kingdom, Zhua Fan finally gazed upon a peak and the familiar cave of vaulting Kunpeng. Ha ha ha! What wind has brought the high and mighty Sir Zhua to my humble abode? A big and muscled man came out of the cave. Vaulting Kunpeng snickered. What has happened to young Sanzi? Why isn't he even greeting me? Is it possible that he's hurt to be held on another's back? No, that can't be. Young Sanzi's father, the great Zhua Fan, had last left with a loud mouth and absolute confidence that he can protect his child. So why then, after only 2 years, the same bubbly child looks to be dying and coming before me? Could he be wanting me to give a burial? Senior Kunpeng, Zhua Fan sighed. I have been rude and disrespectful to Senior, and for that I apologize. Young Sanzi's heavy state is due to my negligence. I proved to be incapable and have come to Senior for aid, hoping Senior remembers of the 5 great sacred beasts and would lend your help. I will be ever grateful. Kunpeng mocked. Zhua Fan, you took the old dragon's dragon breath pill and looked quite smug. Now that you came to me for help, have you seen your shortcomings? Then go down on your knees, and I may just consider it. Senior, I have come to you asking for help, but you shouldn't push it. Zhua Fan had a cold smile. I heard people say that when being asked for help, one shouldn't insult the other, but ask for a price. I have apologized to Senior, but only out of courtesy. If Senior still takes it seriously, then I'm afraid I'll be put on the spot. Ha. I only care about saving young Sanzi, not for me, but for a fellow sacred beast. I do recall you needing to set up some array that needs the power of all 5 great sacred beasts to face Heavenly Sovereign, right? Kunpeng's face twitched and muttered, curses still showing off even when asking for help like I'm owing you. This punk's attitude hasn't changed one bit. Fine, bring the kid over. Humph, we just had to work together. Kunpeng waved and shouted annoyedly before stepping into his cave grinning. Zhua Fan flew inside and placed young Sanzi on a bed. Kunpeng placed 2 fingers on the child's wrist and then shouted, why is his Qilin shield sporting a gap? Qilin shield? Yes. Kunpeng spoke heavily. Qilin shield is a Qiling's innate protection made of his body, mind and soul that makes up the whole of a Qilin's power. A damaged Qilin shield means he can't gather his strength and will be weakened. That's why he's been unconscious for all this time. Zhua Fan's brow shook. Qilin shield has such a use? But when I refined my Qilin arm, I also had the Qilin shield. It only seemed to offer some protection, and that was it. That's because you're a human. Qilin shield isn't for you. So of course, it isn't the core of your being. While not as strong, getting it damaged won't be an issue as it's easy to restore. But to a Qilin, a damaged Qilin shield means having your very core hurt. Kunpeng frowned heavily. The kid's wound is baffling. A normal damaged Qilin shield would recover even with the core being heavily weakened. But his Qilin shield's damage is like his whole body is broken. Unable to bring itself together, his energy is constantly sapped and always weak and unconscious. One day, it may even take his life. Zhuofan panicked inside. How do we heal it? Before that, why don't you tell me how he got this wound? Kunpeng asked gravely. Zhuofan sighed. Soaring sword. Soaring sword? Precisely. Zhuofan nodded. The mortal domain has 5 great sacred weapons made by the heavenly sovereign and sword sovereign to deal with the sacred beasts, even named after the very sacred beast they target. I didn't realize this at first, only coming to this conclusion after being hurt by 2 sacred weapons. These sacred weapons are designed to restrain specific sacred beasts. I was once hurt by the vaulting sword in the double dragon manner and healed in the end, albeit slowly. But getting hurt by the soaring sword proved harder to heal. Maybe because I'm a human that some special pills finally healed me. But young Sanzi, Kunpeng squinted. Kid, do you have a sacred weapon? I have the vaulting sword, but I had changed it. Its sword spirit is my blood spirit. It's fine. The spirit might change, but the sword energy and its skill won't. Take it out and try it on me. Kunpeng insisted. Maybe I can glean into what is happening. Zhuofan did as he was told and shot the demonic sword at Kunpeng. Its form now was much weaker than usual, but Kunpeng didn't care as he tried to block it with his palm, releasing his azure flame into a wall the instant the demonic sword touched the wall. It shook a bit, and the sword released a sudden light before passing right through and going for Kunpeng. Kunpeng shook, taken off guard by the vaulting sword's power, able to bypass his azure flame's defenses. Though it didn't matter since he barely showed any of his power, so this time he added more strength and repelled the demonic sword, sending it back in Zhuofan's body. Zhuofan shuddered and coughed blood. Then he cursed, Senior Kunpeng, wasn't this a test? Why so serious? I had no choice, because the sacred weapons and us mutually suppress each other. Kunpeng's brow shook and sighed. Now I know why the child is so hurt. These swords are deadly to us. Zhuofan started, What do you mean? Kid, you know that the world is made of endless forms of yin and yang, that everything in this world has a counter. But this is mutual suppression that only the 5 elements can have. Kunpeng grew grave. Water and fire repel each other. More water destroys fire, and more fire pulverizes water. They can't coexist. This is how we, the sacred beasts, and the 5 sacred weapons are. Meaning, survival is only based on who is the strongest in this mutual conflict. It's either the sacred beast or the sacred weapon that survives. Young Sanzi's state is because of that. The other used an art that is his bane, causing heavy damage, even deadly. Yeah, he trained in the soaring sword art. Zhuofan's eyes shook as he sighed. Kunpeng was equally helpless. Yin-yang can only break from yin-yang. When 2 opposite forces clash, nothing can help. If the child was stronger, he could have defended himself. But he's still young. However, I'm fortunate that I never left the All-Beast Mountain range or the sacred weapon absorbing the sacred stone's power, and without the barrier here, I would be sure to suffer from it. The heavenly sovereign and the sword sovereign sure are cruel to leave 5 ruthless weapons in the mortal domain to deal with us. Is there no other way? Senior Kunpeng, not even you could do anything? I told you already, the powers are mutually exclusive and only each other can solve, with no one able to interfere. Unless, Kunpeng sighed, then muttered, Forget it, that old geezer must be lazing around somewhere and can't find him fast enough. Zhuofan grasped the slim hope as he asked, Who are you talking about, Senior? Can he save young Sanzi? Yeah, one of the 5 great sacred beasts, the heaven-sealing CAO, wielding the world's innate sealing arts. Smiley face, the world turtle in many mythologies, including Chinese. Kunpeng's eyes flashed, the old guy's ceiling is so strong it can seal the world, so the elements are a cinch for him. Even in the times of the 10 sovereigns, all feared his seals, panicked about having their power bound, and never again able to break it. Also, he was the only one able to give Heavenly Sovereign a hard time, even if he broke out of the seal after a time. This only shows how terrible he is. With young Sanzi's damaged Qilin shield, he just has to place a barrier between the two opposite forces and let it heal itself. Chapter 971, Heart of Sovereign. Chapter 971, Heart of a Sovereign. Proofreader, Papatonks. Zhuofan's face was in a constant frown. Heaven sealing CAO. Does that mean he is the only one in the whole wide world that can heal young Sanzi? Yes, but the problem is I have no idea where he is. Kuanpeng sighed. Zhuofan lit up and took out a gourd. Looking nervous. Senior, you just said that only heaven-sealing CAO can save young Sanzi. But on my way back, I stumbled upon this mortal item, North Sea Gel, that proved to be of great help. Does Senior know of it? North Seal Gel? First time hearing of it. Kuanpeng took the gourd and smelled it. Young Sanzi's wound, or more plainly spoke, the deadly war between us and Heavenly Sovereign, can never be healed by anything, no matter how special, from the mortal domain, eh? Kuanpeng gasped to this smell. What is it, Senior? Of course. Kuanpeng grinned and shook his head. Then he handed the gourd back with a jeer. Kid, what did you say its name was? Where does it come from? Completely clueless, Zhuofan looked at the gourd and muttered. Senior, on my way back I met someone who used this to save young Sanzi's life, calling it North Sea Gel. I heard it's very valuable. I had to pay 20 million sacred stones for just this tiny bit, yet still came up at a huge bargain for me. Kuanpeng scoffed and gave him a toying gaze. What? Senior, what's the problem? Zhuofan asked curiously, pointing at the gourd with a smug grin. Kuanpeng shook his head. You humans hail everything that's remotely rare as valuable. Zhuofan was still not getting where he was going, but the man continued. Kid, the old guy's 9 Serenity's secret records has plenty of super secret and rare medicines, right? Was this among them then? Oh no. Zhuofan gave an awkward shake of his head. Maybe since this is of the mortal domain, 9 Serenity's sovereign has no way of knowing. Bull. Kuanpeng cussed him on the spot. There was no mortal domain in the distant past. 9 Serenities most definitely knew what this thing is, but found it unworthy to be noted down. Ah, then this is Heaven Sealing CAO's garbage. Kuanpeng cocked an eyebrow as he cackled. Zhuofan froze, then stammered, You mean this thing? You get now? The waste of a sacred beast looks like an otherworldly treasure to you common folk, but to a sovereign, it's junk, trash shit. Even if it were you, would you actually go and ask some random expert stool sample for purely academic reasons? Ha ha ha. Kuanpeng was laughing it up. Only mortals like you would think this is precious. 9 Serenities knew its use, but still didn't note it down, just so he wouldn't become the butt of everyone's joke. Zhuofan's face was twitching in all the weird ways. The dirty truth finally dumped on his clueless mind. Of course it helped heal young Sanzi's wound, since it came from the Heaven Sealing CAO. Even if it came from the other end, it still has great power. Right you are, and also, Kuanpeng's eyes shone with a vague light. Zhuofan picked up on his thought instantly. The Heaven Sealing CAO is in the northern land sea. I'll take young Sanzi there right now. Zhuofan grabbed young Sanzi to leave. Wait. Kuanpeng cut his enthusiasm short. Earning a curious expression from him, Kuanpeng took a deep breath. Northern lands is worlds apart from here, and not to mention it'll take even more time searching for the old Cooch track in the North Sea. Time is of the essence here, as young Sanzi's life is at stake. He is fading as we speak, each passing day becoming more dangerous for him. Senior means who? Kuanpeng's palm sported an azure flame, shooting both of his hands at young Sanzi and letting the fire pass by his acupoints. While placing the palm on young Sanzi's forehead, the azure flame flared and seeped into the child's body through the acupoints, forming a faint azure glow around young Sanzi to keep him safe, easing a long breath. Kunpeng took back his hand. I'm not at the old coot's ceiling level, but this little is nothing. Fire is the source of life, so I used the chaos flame to make a heaven seal and keep young Sanzi's spirit in his body. It's not enough to give the chilling shield time to recover, but it won't get worse at least. Now you need to visit the old dragon too, so he'd use the decimating golden flame and keep his energy from leaking as well. This should buy enough time for you to find the CAO and save him. Senior can't just seal it completely. No, my azure soul protects the soul, while the dragon's refines the flesh. Against such a problem as two clashing energies, we can only do what we can. I kept his soul intact, while the dragon can keep his body from deteriorating. That's all any of us can do. Kunpeng explained. Zhuofan nodded and hugged young Sanzi. But Kunpeng stopped him yet again. He had a cheeky grin. Kid, the child's life won't get worse for now, so there's no need to be frantic. It's been 2 years now since you last visited my all-beast mountain range, and I would like to understand some things. Have you made any progress? I sealed 3 of the 8 world wind tunnels. Zhuofan spoke plainly. Kunpeng nodded. That's quite fast, but that's not the issue here. Finding them and setting a drawing array is the easy part, while getting the recoiling array the main issue. Alone, as you are, it's going to take eons to finish. This is work that involves all of the lands. Do you have any plans? Don't worry, I found myself a partner on the way back. With their clan's connections, it shouldn't take too long. Zhuofan's eyes shone, giving a full account of the Serene Shores Trading's situation. Kunpeng started, then laughed. In just 3 days, you had them killed and still got them to give their lives for you. Kid, that's one good deal right there. Senior Kunpeng, you mean you don't see it? It's not I who ruined them, but themselves. I just sped up the process. Sighing at the heavens, he flatly stated, in this world, there's always a way to survive, just that you're the one digging your own grave through your actions. Kunpeng chuckled and nodded. Zhuofan, you've grown these 2 years, getting closer to the attitude of a sovereign. Sovereign? Yes. Kunpeng unraveled his doubtful gaze. People think the sovereign stage is the embodiment of power. Hidden from their view is, however, the heart of a sovereign. It means being committed to the world around you, discovering its nature and inner workings by taking the path less traveled, and tempering your heart and mind to grasp past and future, the very world itself, in the palm of your hand. As you are, despite the lack of power, you made headways in demeanor, following the way the world works. A true man would see the danger he is under and avoid it, but everyone else would find it hard to even distinguish it, unable to dodge calamity. You might not have noticed, but you used to think of the bigger picture, walking towards your fate, half with schemes and half with heaven. Now that you perceive the nature of the world and can grasp its opportunities, just how the Serene Shores Trading was walking to a doom of their own making, you merely picked the best timing for you to have them escape it, while also casually getting them to work for you. You didn't really do anything but have grasped the trend of the world. Going with the flow is the sovereign stage. Zhuofan's brow shook in thought. I never thought about it before, just finding it that by throwing the demon spirit stones at the Serene Shores Trading will cause a huge problem, since their demise was just a matter of time. As for the second young master, he'll work with me in the end, and the company will be mine. All I have to do is be patient. Heart of a sovereign, to see the future and know fate. You saw their end, so you followed the world's trend, speeding up the process. Every sovereign is special, having shed the mortal coil, while you have done it in mind. Kunpeng smiled. When I had asked you to find heavenly sovereign's remnants, I believed you would because I had a feeling this would be your future. Ha ha, I made the right choice. With you helping us, it's practically over and done with. Now take young Sanzi and go. I'll have Three-Headed Crow go along until you find CAO. Isn't he an important helper? You let me have him? Zhuofan was stunned. Kunpeng showed a vague smile. Yep, he is, but you need his help more than I do. Also, when you meet the old coot, you might even think the helper hasn't much use. Ha ha. Chapter 972. The Nine Sword Kings Converge. Chapter 972. The Nine Sword Kings Converge. Proofreader, Papatonks. Boom. In the deepest place of Sword Star Empire's imperial capital, on the tallest mountain, stood a lofty palace. However, the lavish design was marred by the constant thunderstorm above and the incessant thick lightning strikes hammering the area. Each strike teeming with the power to destroy everything, but there would be no destruction as the palace made it so any strike that landed close or on it would be completely absorbed, with not a single blade of grass even singed. Yet from the flowers to the trees, they all had a distinct crackling sound coming from them, brimming with abundant electric charge at the tallest point of the palace, where lightning surrounded it constantly. 3 golden and sharp words drew attention: Thunder Pavilion. Invincible Sword just got out of seclusion and asked for the 9 Sword Kings, but what does he do next? He comes to Thunder Pavilion to polish his sword skills. What the hell is he thinking? Outside the pavilion, the teams of guards stood at perfect attention, all of them peak Genesis experts. The most impressive was their numbers, over 100. Shangguan Feiyun was pacing just outside the pavilion, finding it an utter waste of time, and complained because of it. I'd have left by now if the old man didn't have something important. I don't have the leisure like these guards to come over from afar, just to stand stiff. Danxing Shun beside him chuckled. Brother Feiyun, mind your words. Someone might just go tell on you. Then you'll have Sword Patriarch coming at you for a spar. Who are you going to blame then? Ha ha ha. So what? I already lost, haven't I? Shangguan Feiyun's face twitched and grumbled, but it was clear the words did get to him. Danxing Shun chuckled, he then froze, his nose wiggling from the intoxicating scent as he laughed. A mild 3,200 years aged vintage Harmony Hallow. That's one good wine. Ha ha ha. I knew only Brother Dan among the Sword Kings knows me best. You managed to sense it from this far? Whoosh. An aged man with a white beard and a heavily receding hairline popped up in front of them, holding a wine bottle letting out a conspicuous smell. Danxing Shun smiled. Wine Sword Immortal. It's been ages. Where have you run off to for some fine wine? Mind giving me a bottle? How could I ever forget about my dear friend, Brother Dan? But this time, I didn't bring one for you. Why, hogging all up. Danxing Shun poked fun. Wine Sword Immortal waved dismissively. Brother Dan, I'm not being rude here on purpose. Such a great wine isn't enough for myself, so how could I share any with you? Humph, you say that every time. To you, I bet not even all the wine in the world would be enough. Shangguan Feiyun mocked. Danxing Shun smiled uncaringly. But Wine Sword Immortal was looking nervous as he said, Shangguan Feiyun, don't poison the well. I'm a genuine drunkard that loves to hit the bottle, but my dear friendship with Brother Dan is so strong. If I had the whole world's wine, even a bottle, I would not necessarily not share. Shangguan Feiyun rolled his eyes. This drunkard is so stingy, giving only a taste even if he has barrels of it. It was obvious you'd get nothing from this guy. Since all good wines came in short supply, there was no way he'd ever share anything. Danxing Shun chuckled. Old geezer, I know you're a drunkard, but regardless of giving or not, the least you can do is show me some respect in front of everyone. Just a bottle? Do I matter so little to you? No, that's not it, Brother Dan. I feared you'd take it seriously and really ask for some from me. The Wine Sword Immortal always had his nose in a bottle or barrel. But the 9 Sword Kings, he was the plainest and honest of them all, always saying his piece. At the two's teasing, he grew nervous. I'll be honest with you. This is the only bottle I have of Harmony Hallow, and also the most ardent. I had to go through so much to ardent Harmony Hallow like from southern lands. Danxing Shun shouted. You went to Morong Lai for wine? No wonder it has such a pungent smell. The southern lands have the hottest climate and would ferment the spiciest wines. Morong clans is among the best, but as a Sword King, if Bailey Jingwei finds out you went to the enemy for some wine, you're through. Shangguan Feiyun butted in with his mock threat. Wine Sword Immortal signaled for him to be silent with a tense look. Keep it down. That slob has his eyes on me, and if he finds out anything, he'll lock me up in the same spot. Good brothers keep secrets. Don't throw me to the wolves. Give half and take half. The other two spoke in unison while reaching for the wine. Wine, sword immortal winced, looking at the bottle in his hand with pain. Can't you ask for anything else? This is my only bottle. You're being cruel, wanting half. We're just that mean. The two wiggled their eyebrows as they taunted, looking like he was the victim here. Wine sword immortal fondled the bottle with utter helplessness. But then the sound of strings echoed out, followed by a voice sounding even more helpless. Sword kings, please don't pick on the kind and elderly. He risked his life in the southern lands. Why must we sword kings play one another despite being outsiders? How petty! They all started and looked over at the corner to an eminent man with a calm demeanor as he played the zither, while giving them a mocking grin. Zither, Sword King Lumubai. You came as well? Wine Sword Immortal lit up in joy as he bounced over with a laughter. You're a nice guy, saving me from those two trying to blackmail me. What I hate the most is others using another's plight for their own selfish gain. Lu Mubai smiled and played the zither. Wine Sword Immortal, you call that blackmail? It's just a joke, just like what I did just now with them, huh? Really? Shangguan Fiyun cocked a mocking eyebrow. The Nine Sword Kings come from different areas, but Prime Minister Bailey treat us all the same. The fact that you spoke of us being outsiders is your attempt at sowing discord? The zither rang an odd note in his hand as Lu Mubai stopped, looking at him with a vague glint. That wasn't the idea. I'm only stating facts. Of the 9 Sword Kings, 5 are Bailey clans, leaving us the only 4 by ourselves. Don't tell me you believe that if a bid operation is in play, those 5 won't try to steal our share of the reward or downplay our merits. Ha ha ha, Prime Minister cares about all of us, but our levels are different among each other. They are a united force while we're alone. I love the zither, Sword Immortal the wine, Old Dan painting, but what about Brother Feiyun? Ha ha, brow furrowed. They all looked grave. Lu Mubai spoke what they all knew already. Bailey's people are against any outsiders. They were 4 Sword Kings that had been recruited. Thus their gains differed. This made it 5 against each one of them. When the time came and they were at odds, they would be in serious danger. All because they had no trust among each other. The 4 look at each other, their mind already working on a plan. Zither Sword King, are you trying to get the other 3 Sword Kings set up against the Bailey clan? Rumble. A thunderous voice followed the appearance of a fierce and hulking man. His eyes flashed like lightning, his power shaking the air around him. Squinting, Lu Mubai smiled. Thunder Sword King Bailey Yulei, is it that you disapprove of my words? There's no point to begin with. Bailey Yulei jeered. There's only our clan, the best in the world. It is us who have the final say, and we who gave you your titles, just so that you protect our home. Put bluntly, you're nothing but better guards. Even if there are conflicts of interest with our clan, you still have to step aside, isn't that right? All the other faces tensed and darkened. Wine Sword Immortal, who never cared about mortal affairs, had had enough. So you're saying if a good wine caught my eye and someone from Bailey wants it as well, who is it that gets it? Whoever rules. Bailey Yulei thundered. Wine Sword Immortal was disgruntled. Wine is my life. Then please have it removed. Wine Sword Immortal. What did you say? Bam. A powerful surge exploded as Wine Sword Immortal roared. Standing against Bailey Yulei's icy smile, Lu Muba rooted for Wine Sword Immortal. Suddenly, 2 Sword Kings' aura flared, pushing Bailey Yulei back, but then 4 other figures descended. The 9 Sword Kings gathered before the Thunder Pavilion. Chapter 973, The Strongest Clan. Chapter 973, The Strongest Clan. Proofreader, Papatonks. Rumble. With the impression of the sky falling on their heads, 5 Sword Kings' combined auras reached almost godlike level in raw power, making Wine Sword Immortal groan and force back 3 steps. Dancing Shan released his own aura to help Wine Sword Immortal. They were outsiders to the Sword Star Empire, strangers, and had to work hard to gain its trust. If they did not stand together, there would be nothing left of them to stand over. Bam. With the other 2 at the side, joining the first 2, it became 4 on 5, turning into a stalemate. Both sides gave their all with neither budging an inch. Yet the raw power they released was so great it affected the Thunder Pavilion. Shaking the whole mountain, it was on the guards were a shaking mess, paling and having lost their previous stone-cold calm. They were all peak Genesis stage experts here, but one thing was certain. The 9 Sword Kings were a cut way above the masses. All they could do, as these 9 powerhouses duked it out, was to stand aside, feeling how weak they were by comparison. Neither side gave, with all the faces frozen in a grim expression. The 100 guards witnessing this were fearing for their lives. The mountain just kept on shaking as the lightning thundered across the sky, giving the feeling the mountain was going to crumble. And so this went on for the better part of the next hour, with shaking and more shaking, while word was the 9 Sword Kings were equal. The 4 outsiders were short of one in this fight, showing signs of weakness after engaging in this pissing contest for so long. The Bailey clan's 5 Sword Kings had gotten the advantage and were pressing down on the other, for the 4 outsiders were grave when a woman giggled. "You're only 4, yet still dare to challenge the 5 of us? Now it's too late to back out. Bailey, you sure are smug for having just one more. Have some dignity and fight one-on-one with me, if you dare." Wine Sword Immortal challenged. The graceful figure stuck out her tongue as she jeered, "Stinky old coot. This lady here doesn't feel like wasting time with you." "Humph, lady. Shouldn't that be Hag?" Shangguan Fenyun's eyes shone as he taunted. "Bailey clan's Yu generation is of the same age with Patriarch Bailey Yutian, around 10,000 years old, I reckon. Yet you call yourself a lady? Ha ha ha. A biddy or a hag is more accurate. And yet still so feisty, no man will ever want a shrew." Bailey Yu squinted and gave a banshee of screech. "Who's spouting such nonsense that all you are of the same generation?" The Patriarch bestowed upon the Bailey clan members who reached the Sword King rank with this character. "To show our power is that of heaven. Did you know that?" Smiley face, the character where you has many different meanings: to resist, imperial, manage, govern, royal. With bloodthirst flashing in her eyes, Bailey Yu's hands glinted coldly as she sent a rumbling silver sword energy for Shangguan Feiyun with her finger. "You think I'm scared of you, wench?" Shangguan Feiyun scoffed and drew 2 fingers as he slashed, unleashing the soaring sword art at her boom. The loud explosion shook the mountain even more, sending rocks into its dreams, with its aura becoming strained to the point of breaking. The guards panicked, while the other Sword Kings frowned. So far they kept the confrontation friendly, to a mere display of power, but now someone resorted to violence. With 9 Sword Kings' power, a clash would lead to total devastation. On top of that, they might both die from it. Whichever the outcome, it was bad no matter how one sliced it. This was why both the Patriarch and the Prime Minister forbade any fighting among them, short of being severely punished. Whoosh. The second energy wave shot at Shangguan Feiyun as Bailey Yu spat. "Curse you, Shangguan Feiyun, I'm going to skin you alive." "Bring it on." Shangguan Feiyun met her challenge with his own taunt, and the soaring sword art, a roar reverberated throughout the skies before the 2 sword energies ever had a chance to unleash further needless devastation upon the world. "Enough. Are you going to fight in front of the Thunder Pavilion? In front of Patriarch?" Everyone flinched and found 2 men rushing over and making them stop as they bowed. "Greetings, Your Majesty. Greetings, Prime Minister." Next to the young Bailey Jingwei stood a middle-aged man with sharp brows and tall stature. His eyes showed wisdom, yet hid the cold glint only the monarch of the Sword Star Empire could have. Right behind him were 10 youths, with the most handsome guy taking the lead, looking to only be in his 20s. And yet his youthful look belied the power he wielded, that of a Genesis stage expert. The other 9 were 5th-layer Soul Harmony stage experts as well. Young and strong, Shangguan Feiyun's heart sank, looking at his friends, and his face fell as well. The Bailey clan is filled with talents. They aren't called the strongest clan for nothing. The leader of the youths was none other than the Crown Prince, capable in both the pen and the sword. Now that he was already in the Genesis stage, his future was set as the next Sword King. As for the other 9, they were outstanding as well, all having a good chance of becoming a Sword King. Now the 9 Sword Kings had 5 from the Bailey clan, but by the look of things, there would be more. The power of this mighty clan was on a steady climb, bound to make these foreign sword kings' future even more miserable. There was a very likely possibility, and not at all welcomed, that they would be even removed from such ranks, not like they could do anything to change it. The Bailey clan was just that strong, and not from coincidences or happenstance, but through survival of the fittest had they created this empire. Invincible sword established the clan's dominance, putting in place his autocracy, with every generation carefully picked and groomed to reach higher. As for the progeny that failed to make the cut, Bailey Yuchian sent them to the border and never to step foot in the imperial capital again. Not all of the imperial family held power. Had the crown prince failed to meet his expectations, he would now be reduced to a garbage position like a city lord. There was no surprise the right to inherit did not exist in this clan. Failing to thrive meant turning into a beggar on the off chance a good seed bore fruit among those sent at the border towns. They would be recalled to the imperial capital to be groomed. On very rare occasions, they might even become emperors. At least that was what Invincible Sword said. The whole empire revolved around this one man, the patriarch. Making his word law, this was why birthright didn't mean instant power and the highest seat in the empire. That was because the Bailey clan was filled with struggles. If one ever wanted to grasp anything, a degenerate like Bailey Jingyu was an exception, while Bailey Jingwei and Bailey Jingshi, men of little power but great wisdom, had their station judged through their incredible talent. As a prime minister and as an emperor, it was all thanks to the patriarch that they got it, or they would have become nobodies. Thus, ever since these two came to power, the empire flourished. This system was unimaginable elsewhere because it was bound to lead to chaos. As to why it worked here, that was because there was no one out there in the world that could top Bailey Yutian and challenge his words. Bailey Jingwei spoke coldly. Explain to me what's happening right now, or I'll have to report this to the patriarch. Prime Minister, he insulted me. Bailey Yu stabbed her finger at Shangwan Fiyun. The accused man scoffed. Prime Minister, you always say the 9 sword kings do not take sides, but these 5 from the Bailey clan have treated us outsiders as nothing. Is this true? Bailey Jingwei turned to the 5 and spoke. Sword kings. It was the patriarch himself who invited these 4 to be sword kings to serve the empire. My reach is limited, and I do not have the power to govern matters between sword kings. But we are now meeting the patriarch, and what do you think he will say when he hears about my report on this? The 5 sword kings shuddered at once. Bailey Yu cupped her hands in fright. Prime Minister, I've been too rude and asked Prime Minister not to. Not what? A wizened voice rumbled into everyone's ears like thunder and made everyone shake all over. The patriarch of the Sword Star Empire, the strongest in the 5 lands, Invincible Sword Bailey Yutian, had arrived. Chapter 974, Invincible Sword. Chapter 974, Invincible Sword. Proofreader, Papatonks. Along with the surge of power that shook the ground and the air around them, what stood in front of them was a stout old man with a white beard, eyes of amber, hair white as snow, wrinkles so deep as if carved. Yet what unnerved everyone, even the likes of the 9 sword kings, was the piercing stare and the flickering purple lightning within. They felt their hearts quivering from the sharp glare, making them sweat. Bam! In a flash of purple lightning, a long sword appeared, its edge cold and sharp, its aura deadly like that of a grim reaper. Central Area's divine weapon, Sundering Sword. Everyone's hearts shuddered at its appearance. Then they gave the old man a deep bow. Greetings, Patriarch. We congratulate Patriarch on coming out of seclusion. Now I know what exactly happened here from within the Thunder Pavilion. I won't be saying anything about it, but I'd prefer this not to happen ever again. Am I clear? Bailey Yuqian spoke with a cold face, his eyes flat, as if nothing mattered to him at all. Yet these few words carried with it a heavy weight, like a decree of a god that none could impeach. Follow it they shall, or they might as well sign their death warrant. The 9 sword kings bowed again. Bailey Yulei even lowered his head more as sweat trickled down his brow. Shang Wanfeng snickered at their plight, while Zither Sword King's eyes shone and grinned. Bailey Yuqian's icy tone came again. This goes for the foreign sword kings as well. not just the two of them. Watch yourselves before you touch upon each other's sensibilities, especially. Bailey Yutian glanced sideways, his piercing and icy stare shooting straight for Lu Mubai, shuddering. The man sweated buckets as he and the other three outsiders bowed in respect. We shall respect Patriarch's wishes. As long as you understand. Bailey Yutian squinted as he passed judgment on all and everything. He then turned to Bailey Jingwei. Emperor, Prime Minister, you're late. Why? Bailey Jingshi gave a curt bow and reported, Patriarch, these days Prime Minister has seized serene shores trading and removed unwelcomed elements. Today, they have been receiving the highest punishment as an example for everyone. As such, Prime Minister and I have gone with the princes and nobles to supervise the execution. We ask your forgiveness, Patriarch. Highest punishment. Lu Mubai shook at the words, his fists clenching. Highest punishment. Bailey Yutian pondered. Serene Shores trading has established itself for thousands of years in the empire, contributing greatly to our nation's prosperity. I still recall 2,000 years ago how the Four Lands cut us off from all the spirit mines, and only Serene Shores trading managed to open them again. Just what heinous crime have they committed to warrant ruination, and even used the highest punishment? Bailey Jingwei bowed. Patriarch, I had something to do with this. Bailey Jingwei began to explain the demon spirit stone debacle. Bailey Yutian pondered, then mocked. Only a few dozen greedy nobles died, and Serene Shores trading hardly is to blame for this. The highest punishment is a bit excessive here. But Jingwei, you always have a reason for your actions, so I can only assume it has other meanings. Patriarch has such insight. It is indeed so. Bailey Jingwei gave off a confident smile as he bowed. Patriarch, I believe that our empire's unification plan can now begin. We can now wage war with the other four lands. When we rule the world, Serene Shores trading would no longer be opening channels with the rest of the areas, but fester our empire like termites that the enemy might exploit. Collapse could come from the slightest weakness, let alone such a glaring one. That's why I used this chance to have the company removed for the future of the empire and its complete control over every mountain and river. Brows furrowed and hearts shook. They couldn't believe Bailey Jingwei was so impatient to fight the other lands so soon. The Nine Sword Kings were barely established and quite free. Now, they were to strike at every land around? What was more, was he that confident that this was going to happen? Bailey Yutian stared for long before speaking. You're certain? Absolutely. Our previous defeat against the Four Lands was due to a lack of men, weakness. When one land fell, the other three jumped in, leaving our backs bare and pushing us into being defensive. Bailey Jingwei's eyes shone. Only this time, we have the Nine Sword Kings, and with Patriarch coming out of seclusion, even with having four fronts, our great armies will crush them before they can join together. I believe it is the Sword Star Empire's greatest opportunity. Letting this drag on for longer will make the lands find counters for our Sword Kings, and will make things worse. Bailey Jingwei, you sure don't go in half-cocked. The Nine Sword Kings barely took shape, and you already can't wait to wage war. Talk about ruthless. Everyone thought the same thing in their minds. Bailey Yutian paused and said to the other, You're the Emperor. Do you agree with your Prime Minister's decision? Patriarch, Jingwei has always done things boldly and with wisdom, something I lack. All my seat can do is curb his eagerness and prevent him from making mistakes. Bailey Jingshi smiled with a bow, but after a 3-day-long debate, he convinced me. While the plan feels rushed, it's without a doubt rushed to the lands as well, not just to us, and will prove to be effective. Thus I gave my approval of this plan. The Empire shall send its troops immediately and strike like lightning. Bailey Yutian stared at the two and nodded. Since you're both for this, then I have nothing to say against it. That's what we'll do. The two gave a deep bow and a smug smile. The Nine Sword Kings were amazed and sighed, but not because of the two's ingenious plan, but the Patriarch's ability to use talent in this type of empire. With the Patriarch always watching over, the Emperor's power was tied down, so there was no need for heavy tactics. The key was tolerance and having insight more so when in other empires. The prime minister was in charge of affairs far more than the emperor. This made the seat of prime minister needing a true governing talent, and only the likes of Bailey Jingwei could fill it. As all positions of power, they came with such temptation that would make the prime minister be rash and let it get to his head in his decision. For this reason, the emperor's role was not to lead a nation, but to curb the prime minister's zeal. This meant there was no godly genius of a requirement for it, since it would only clash with the first and try and come on top and lead to grave consequences. What this seat needed was a plain individual that eased the prime minister's talent. It did not refer to one's humble abilities per se, but moderation above all else. That was who Bailey Jingshur was, the bucket of cold water for when Bailey Jingwei's talent flared too much and brought him down to earth. This led to the emperor of the Sword Star Empire hardly ever passing any judgment on matters, always in the middle of things. In fact, he was more of a prop there in the background as he handled things to work smoothly. He didn't get involved in policies, but when the situation demanded, he was there to answer the call and avert any foreseeable calamity. Thus, these two, one impetuous and another reserved, complemented each other in bringing out the perfect solution. Since all their powers stem from the authority the patriarch invested in them, they had no clashes, but actually worked hand in hand for a change. This was nigh impossible to take shape in any other nation, not with the emperor and prime minister always throwing jabs at each other in order to wield more power, sometimes deadly. The prime minister limited the emperor's authority, yet needed his power at the same time. The emperor, on the other hand, wanted to kill the prime minister, yet couldn't exactly do without one either. Such was their paradox, with both of them going forward with such a plan. Bailey Yuqian found no reason to dwell on it, immediately approving it. The Sword Star Empire has been going easy on the four lands so far, but the sound of charging cavalry and marching soldiers, along with the cold edges of its 9 sword kings, shall soon fill the lands. They all, however, were unaware of one tiny element, a frozen corpse that suddenly stirred. Second young master, let's go. In the public square of the imperial capital, an old man in black pulled along a youth with a sigh. Watching the ashes of the people who once stood in the middle of the square, the warmth still fresh on his skin, the youth balled his fists and vanished among the crowd. His vitriol-filled words only reached the elder's ears. Elder Ming, I swear we will rise again, as I toll the bell for the Sword Star Empire's doom. Chapter 975, North Sea Battlefield. Chapter 975, North Sea Battlefield. Proofreader, Papatonks. Sword King Fei Yun. A bird told me you have this soaring sword. Where is it now? With the mobilizing plan established, Bailey Yuqian went on to more important things, and of great personal interest. Shangwan Feiyun flinched, and Bailey Jingwei stepped in to cover for him. Patriarch, please be calm. We had the divine sword, but in a sudden turn of events, the Shangwan clan stole it. What? Bailey Yuqian glared in fury. You mean to tell me that soaring sword is back in eastern lands? Humph! Are my empire's lands so weak that they can't even get a grip on the things it has? Shangwan Feiyun bowed at once, soaked with sweat. Sword Patriarch, I am at fault for failing to protect the sword. Humph! You expect to protect my empire when you can't even get a grip on the divine weapon in your hands? Why are you even a Sword King? Or is it something else? Tell me, Sword King Feiyun, do you still feel some longing for the eastern lands, and you simply gave it up? Shut up. Bailey Jingwei immediately snapped back at Bailey Yulei's insidious accusation. Patriarch, I was there as well. Sword King Feiyun gave his all. His loyalty is beyond reproach. It was the enemy that outsmarted him and me, managing to steal the sword. Bailey Yuqian gave him a long look. A devious enemy? You're saying you lost in a battle of minds? Bailey Jingwei shuddered on the inside as he felt utter shame to admit his biggest defeat yet. It was a severe blow to the man's pride in his flawless intellect. Prime Minister Bailey's wisdom has no equal. It must be someone from the inside working with the enemy. And it's plain to see that this spy has a tie with eastern lands. With Bailey Jingwei hesitating so much, Bailey Yu took the moment to jeer at Shangguan Feiyun's plight and kick him while down. Bailey Jingwei gnashed his teeth and bowed as he came clean. Patriarch, it has nothing to do with Sword King Feiyun. It's all my fault for losing the divine sword from his ploy. I take full responsibility for my actions. Sword King Feiyun has only followed my advice the entire time. He never failed his duty. Jingwei, you're a cunning man who has his sights on the end goal. I believe you. Bailey Yutian nodded, but then his visage darkened as bloodthirst shone in his eyes. But you all know that I only care about Dao and my pursuit of it. The only reason I formed this empire is to make it easier for me to get closer. And where do I find it? In the divine swords. I've completed my inspection of the central area's sundering sword, and it won't bring me any new insight. For this reason, I am in need to find the other 4 lands' divine swords and understand their design, so that I may one day break the heavens and reach higher. I went as far as waging war with them, all for the swords. Central area wouldn't care about them as long as they sent them over. But they refused me and fought me. Now that I came out and heard that the Sword King Feiyun has brought with him the soaring sword to the central area, I couldn't be happier. But in only a few days you lost it as well? Are you trying to toy with my feelings? Bailey Jingwei and Shangguan Feiyun gave a frightened bow as they declared, Never! I know you wouldn't, but maybe you didn't care enough? Glaring at them, Bailey Yuqian's only interest on this wide green earth were those divine swords. The only reason the strongest man in the world did not immediately use violence to curb his rage on these disappointing men was because they were too important. Understanding his anger, Bailey Jingwei shook like a leaf. Danqing Shun stepped in and bowed as he took their side. Sword Patriarch, Prime Minister has fallen to the enemy's cunning ploy and lost the divine sword. But he has been vanquished, no longer plaguing our empire. What does it matter? The sword's still taken. Bailey Yutian rumbled. Bailey Jingwei scrunched up his nerve to risk it, saying, Patriarch, I've been useless, and the thief escaped. I did not succeed in bringing him to justice. What? Shangguan Feiyun's shock echoed around. Before even Bailey Yutian got to say anything, Prime Minister, didn't Brother Dan and the kid? Why are you saying he escaped? Bailey Jingwei spoke with great pain to his pride. I thought so as well, but the one who sold the demon spirit stones to the Serene Shores Trading was a man with a child on his back, matching his description. Furthermore, Murong Shui saw him as well and confirmed how he announced himself as Gu Yifan. That's not possible. Shangguan Feiyun gasped in disbelief. How can a dead guy reappear in the central area and in just 3 days cause a mess of the imperial capital by killing almost half of its officials? Is it some vengeful ghost? Bailey Jingwei sighed. If only it were that. I fear he pulled a great escape from right under my eyes and enacted an even crueler ploy. He's too shrewd. My first time encountering such a vile and calculating mind. Bailey Jingwei looked filled with regret. Bailey Yuqian watched them talk and sighed. In other words, you don't even know if he's dead and that he disappeared from under you after having his fun with you. Yes, Patriarch. Bailey Jingwei sighed and lowered his head. Ever since he found out Zhuo Fan was still drawing breath, he felt crushed. His confidence gone, he felt humiliated how the enemy just waltzed around and did his thing to ruin the place under his governance. Bailey Yutian nodded and spoke. Jingwei, I have noticed your talent in deeper thinking, the best in your field at the top of your game. First hearing about this matter, I thought it was due to gross negligence, only to see it for the truth. You did your best, but met your true adversary. This is good. I asked for Patriarch's punishment. No. Your failure is the greatest punishment for you. You're not the wisest after all. Bailey Yutian grinned. A man who only knew success will be excited at meeting his match, only to feel crushed in the end, having lost his confidence as being the best. It is the greatest blow to any man of great talent, that to his pride. There's no need to punish you, not when you're already punishing yourself. Bailey Jingwei shook and gnashed his teeth in shame. Bailey Yutian continued. You should thank the heavens for giving you an opponent. If you were like me, undefeated all your life, and only looking at the heavens and dismissing anything around you, you'll come to understand the meaning of loneliness. Such excellence will always be accompanied by solitude. Maybe it's heaven's punishment for me, for I'm too strong. Show off. Everyone's faces twitched at Invincible Sword's overblown hubris, no matter how I hear it. It sounds like you're tooting your horn. We get it. You're at the top of the world compared to us in martial arts. But could you keep it down a little? You're seriously asking for it. Then again, no one will try and give it to you either. At the very least, make a bit of effort and think of our feelings, please. The 9 Sword Kings were men of status and pride. Though now cut to the quick by this guy's bragging sighing, they shook their heads, feeling like ants in front of such a monster. However, they would never let their hearts speak. Ever Bailey Jingwei bowed convinced. I shall take Patriarch's advice to heart and will strive to fight him next time and win. Also, I have one more thing to report that may brighten Patriarch's mood. What is it? Northern Land's best in Sea Bright sect, also the strongest in their land, Ouyang Ling Tian, has been gravely wounded from fighting the North Sea's sea demon, and the land is weakened. They have no leader now, and it's the best moment to strike. Very few people there could make use of the Heaven Sealing Sword's power, with no one better at it than Ouyang Ling Tian. This way we invade the North Sea's outback and take the Divine Sword. Bailey Yutian's eyes shone and shouted with joy. The sea demon of the North Sea is ruthless. I once fought him myself, since no man could best me, but it would have been so much worse if I had become weakened in the northern lands. What if someone took advantage and killed me? The greatest shame is dying in nobody's hands. That's why I had yet to truly experience the sea demon's skills. It seems now that the demon is quite amazing. Going to northern lands might give me another chance to fight him. Bailey Yutian laughed, but Bailey Jingshi shook his hand. Patriarch is going into enemy territory by himself? That's too dangerous. What if they join forces? No matter, because they'll never get the chance. Humph. Bailey Jingwei was practically basking in victory by now. This way, in our war with the 4 lands, the main battlefield will be on the northern lands. It also happens that Shangwan clan took the sword northbound. We'll snatch that one as well. Chapter 976, Devil Mountain Again. Chapter 976, Devil Mountain Again. Proofreader, Papatonks. Senior Uncle, did something happen lately? Why are so many experts of our sex going for Double Dragon Manor? Isn't it obvious? Only something huge could warrant such actions. For an urgent gathering to be held by calling every expert of the sect, it means something happened at the borders of our land. Western lands will no longer be peaceful now, awaiting to be plunged into a sea of blood. Will something happen to us? With us being the head of the superior 3 sects, Ultimate Clarity sect, we would be standing right in front of it. What does a disciple know? We may be somewhat known in the Western lands, but we're nothing beyond it to the other lands. Once disaster strikes, the bigger the sect, the higher the body count. It's all up to the heavens above now. That cruel. On a clear sky, with the sun's twilight glow basking unimpeded on the tranquil land, and the murmur of creeks teasing one's hearing, a man and a youth were hovering in the air with a constant frown, investigating the disaster about to follow. The two sighed, a piercing shriek rang out, with the sky dimming, birds scrambling away, and a whirlwind causing havoc through the area as a humongous shadow, with 3 heads and wings, covered the sky. The sudden huge surge of power sent all the beasts shivering in their dens. Prostrating before it like its eternal servants, the man and youth squinted and panicked, hearts stuck in their throat. The youth felt so much dread he was about to wet himself. Clutching tight to his only lifeline, the man, and crying for his life, as senior uncle. What was that thing? It has such horrible power. In 9th level spiritual beast, the 3-headed crow. The old man stammered in fear, and the youth gulped down hard. Senior uncle, can you take on such a beast? The hell I can. The 9th level spiritual beast is a monarch among beasts. It'll be hard for even dozens of peak Genesis experts to get close, let alone me, in the 5th layer. I'll only get killed. Be quiet and let it pass. Don't piss it off. Wiping the sweat off his brow, the old man grabbed the youth's hand, not budging an inch, afraid the slightest movement might irk the shadow passing over and turn them into fertilizer, but then the humongous beast stopped on top of them, leaving a gust of strong winds to seep into their very bones, gulping loudly. The youth looked devastated and saw the old man shivering. "Senior uncle, why did it stop? Did it find us? Will it eat us alive? Stop panicking. Maybe it's taking a rest." "Yes, that's it." The old man's face twitched. A ninth-level spiritual beast is a king and never needs a hunt, having the spiritual beasts under it feeding it. Something's off about this ninth-level spiritual beast coming out in broad daylight. Did something happen that caught its attention? Anyway, we should be fine as long as we don't disturb it. "Senior uncle, is this why the Double Dragon Manor has called for a land-wide meeting?" "I hope not. Or not even 100 peak Genesis experts will be enough to be considered this thing's appetizer." The old man's face shook at the youth's wild guess. "Beast and man are quite harmonious. Just why do we have to go out killing each other? Love, that's what the world is missing." "I second that. I hope the big bird will also have senior uncle's capacity for love." The youth bobbed his head in fear beneath the humongous shadow. One man and one youth stood frozen from fear, only staring at the thing above with ardent wishes that it would just go away, though time showed it had no such plans to cater to their whims. With a cold voice coming from up above, "Are you two from Ultimate Clarity Sect?" "It can talk." The youth gasped. "Senior uncle, can a spiritual beast at the 9th level gain human speech?" The old man was quite perplexed. Such high-level beasts are a rarity. It's unclear if they do speak, but then again, I never heard any rumors about spiritual beasts that could. "Hey you, it's not the spiritual beast talking, but me." The voice sounded again, this time clearly from somewhere on its back. A tiny dot popped from the middle head of the bird, looking faintly human in shape. "Could you please tell me if you're from Ultimate Clarity Sect or not?" The two were floored, their mouths twitching, and too shocked to reply. There's someone riding a 9th-level spiritual beast. What kind of ungodly expert could restrain such a mighty beast? It alone can take on dozens of Genesis experts, a literal king of beasts. The two were out of it for ages, making the guy up top have a wry smile at their shock. "If you keep silent any longer, I'll take you for corpses and have my spiritual beast eat you." "No, no, no, please don't do that, sir. We are from Ultimate Clarity Sect indeed. How may we help you, sir?" The two waved frantically at him to stop, scared out of their minds, while sweating buckets the man continued. "Could you tell me if this is Ultimate Clarity Sect's domain, or do I still have ways to go?" Why are you going there?" The old man craned his head up with a shuddering heart. "Has my sect done something to you, sir? Why would you bring such a ferocious beast to Ultimate Clarity Sect?" The man laughed. "That's not it. I have nothing against your sect. On the contrary, having some friends instead, like Yilin, Wu Qingqiu, and more. You know them? This spiritual beast is only my ride. But if you guys don't tell me, then something is brewing here, and I'll have to dispense with the pleasantries. First have you for snacks, then destroy your sect, and lastly—" Wait, sir. Please calm down. We'll tell you." The old man was scared to death as he hurried to cup his hands. "To be honest, we are on our way there, but it will take 10 days with my speed to reach the sect, while with Sir's spiritual beast's uncanny speed. An hour will do." One of the crow's heads turned to its middle head and said, "Sir, let us go on." The sun's twilight rays shone the back of the three-headed crow and revealed the face of its passenger. Looking at young Sanzi next to him, Zhuofan nodded and said, "Thank you. I have once been to your great sect, but it has been a short event, and I have forgotten the way since then. Let us meet again someday, haha." Zhuofan signaled, and the crow flapped its wings. "It really talks." The youth pointed a shivering finger at the beast with a gaping mouth. The old man was too stunned to react. It was his first time hearing spiritual beasts speak. Zhuofan chuckled on the bird's back, shouting, "Yep, that last part wasn't me, but the spiritual beast, huh? Wait, sir, would it be possible to tell the two of us of your noble reason for visiting our sect?" The old man cupped his hands again and stopped Zhuofan from leaving. "Well, he did show me the way and has no clue who I am. If by some misfortune I had ill will, getting his sect in trouble, he would be crushed. What will Double Dragon Manor's name become in Western lands when he comes to them for justice? Getting his worry, Zhuofan's eyes lit up and said, "There have been some vile men hurting one of our fellow disciples, and sect leader destroyed 5 sects in his rage. Now that the world has stirred again, the people of Devil Mountain will kick up a storm. Ha!" The three-headed crow vanished with its 2 passengers, leaving behind violent whirlwinds. Howling like the demons of the underworld, the man and youth were shaking in the savage winds, coughing and looking at the destruction around with shock. Holy hell! One flap of a 9th-level spiritual beast's wings is so brutal that the world is in ruins. Looking at the devastation, it looked like the end of days, as the youth stared dumbfounded and muttered the old man was stunned as well, mulling over Zhuofan's words. Does he mean that another disciple of Devil Mountain has come out? Senior uncle, what's that about Devil Mountain? The youth asked the frowning old man, who said, Disciple, haven't you heard of the 5 sects coming to ruin 2 years ago? You mean, that was Devil Mountain? With a shaking brow, the old man sighed. Because of the fights between the sects, a prominent disciple fell victim. No one knew he was actually part of the mysterious sect, Devil Mountain. Thus, the sect master, Overlord 9 Serenities, came himself to avenge his death by purging 5 sects and left behind his ungodly power that shook the land. Not even Double Dragon Manor could offend him. Yet after only 2 years, this mystery sect has now appeared again, sending its disciple into the world. And he actually rode a 9th-level spiritual beast. They have learned their lesson, I see. As for us, this embodies ill news and turmoil. The youth was overwhelmed as he nodded out of reflex. A 9th-level spiritual beast is quite flashy. Devil Mountain is like a tyrant. But where is it? I'd like to be their disciple. What did you say? Nothing, just thinking out loud, haha. Chapter 977, A Shrew's Pep Talk. Chapter 977, A Shrew's Pep Talk. Proofreader, Papatonks. Boom. There was this space where golden flames licked every inch, with heat turned so high you'd bake, and the constant crackling sounded as if the earth itself was cooked. Bolts of purple lightning flashed all around, briefly interrupted by the appearance of a 100-meter large bird. It released violent flashes at the dangerous golden flames, erasing them in a terrifying explosion. But as the golden flames around vanished, what stood in their place was a 300-meter dragon, towering like a mountain with its huge, eye-showing pride whoosh. The purple bird landed. Then it turned into a 7-year-old girl, looking curiously at the large creature. Dragon Ancestor, is today's training over? That was fast. Ha ha, it is, since we have guests. The dragon's rumbling laughter sounded. Then one sharp talon swept the air ripped, and showed a bright sun on the other side, and a mild wind rustling the trees around a creek. But also a very familiar man. He entered into this space and smiled. Dragon Ancestor sure is amazing. I just came, and you already noticed. Father, the adorable girl lit up and jumped into man's arms joyfully. The man staggered, but hugged the girl back with laughter. Chower, it's been so long. I see you've been doing great in here. Father, did you come for me? Chower's eyes sparkled with childish hope. Zhuofan rubbed her head with sorrow, shaking his head. It's not up to me when you can leave. Dragon Ancestor has the last say. He will let you go once he believes you have the strength to hold your own in the big world outside. Dragon Ancestor, can I go with Father? I've learned all you've taught me. Chower swished her head around to the huge dragon with a puppy. Look, these 2 years away from Zhuofan had been like ages to her, and she had missed her father dearly. Dragon Ancestor stared hard at Zhuofan instead. Kid, it can't be you came all this way just to catch up? What happened? Dragon Ancestor is amazing yet again. I just can't hide anything from your discerning eye. Zhuofan showed a trace of sorrow. Then he flicked his hand, and young Sanzi's feeble body appeared. Chower Sagu Santong, so weary, and cried. What happened to brother? Chilin, Dragon Ancestor saw young Sanzi for the first time, but one look was enough to recognize his origins. Tell me what happened. Zhuo Fan sighed and nodded with a heavy look as he retold the events he went through the last couple of years, finishing with, I didn't know the sacred weapons had such power over sacred beasts. It's my mistake. Now that I know where Heaven's Sealing CAO is, Kunping said that with you two's seal on young Sanzi's soul and body, it will keep him stable until I find CAO to save him. Oh, Kunping isn't wrong about that. Heaven's Sealing CAO can handle this. Dragon Ancestor nodded and his eyes shone. His huge claw shot forth and golden flames fell on young Sanzi's body like stars. On his mane, Acupoint's Dragon Ancestor placed the claw over young Sanzi and let the golden flames cover him. Letting its power seep into him, young Sanzi began to show a golden glow this time, covering him completely, and the child's cheeks looked a healthier pink Dragon Ancestor's side. The little Qilin will be fine for a while. Take him to CAO, but you need to exercise extreme caution around that guy. He hates humans with a passion. When you do finally meet him, you won't even get the chance to speak before the old bastard would splatter you. The young Qilin will be left for dead, and you'll become a bloody stain under his palm. He's still wild and can't speak. No, he just doesn't trust human words. Dragon Ancestor sighed. He lost one of his eyes to a human, and healing it proved difficult. This is why he sees humans as bitter enemies, making him go mad. Zhuo Fan's eyes shook. A human took his eye? Who? Sword Sovereign. Dragon Ancestor let out a long sigh. You must be fast to explain your purpose, or maybe just throw little Qilin over without even talking. I don't think you'll even have time to get even one word out before you become his meal. Zhuo Fan was stunned and gave a hard nod with a grim look. Sacred beasts were the strongest in this world, needing but an instant to kill anyone, even if sealed in the mortal domain. With CAO killing any human he saw, talking would be pointless. It dawned on him just how risky his search had now become. Shower picked up on the dangers around this task and said, Dragon Ancestor, then I can just go with Father and help him. Don't argue. It's too dangerous this time. Anything could happen going against a crazed sacred beast. Young Sanzi is bad enough. I can't have you hurt as well. Zhuo Fan refused on the spot. Dragon Ancestor actually took Xiaoer's side. This time she can go. Maybe she can really help you in this. She's a fledgling sacred beast, and that old CO might give you some time on account of her, enough to state your purpose. And Xiaoer is strong enough to help you out as well, while also turning this trip into a learning experience for her. Xiaoer skipped with glee, and Zhuo Fan gave a weak nod. After a long pause, he knew Dragon Ancestor had put a lot of work in Xiaoer and was not just about to give her up. What was the point of the last 2 years of training anyway? Dragon Ancestor must be convinced she could go out. And if he thought so, then Zhuo Fan had no reason to doubt the old dragon's judgment. Zhuo Fan reached out his hand, his tone as earnest as he knew how. Senior Dragon Ancestor, this is a serious matter. Could you spare some assistance for this noble cause? What's with you? Could you possibly give me, say, 10 more dragon breath pills? Blinking his big, purty eyes, Zhuo Fan begged without qualms. Facing that lunatic, I'll need further assistance. Facing a sacred beast without Dragon Ancestor's much-needed support will wring my little life dry from these feeble bones. I asked Dragon Ancestor to think of the end goal and give me all the help you can. If not 10, 5 will do just as fine. Dragon Ancestor's big eye twitched, giving a wry smile. Kid, funny you should mention the end goal when you used one of my dragon breath pill on that nobody's sect in the mortal domain. Did you forget how each of them is an all-out attack for me? With me stuck in a mortal domain and unable to recover my energy, you think I can pop out dragon breath pills like candy? Those 3 were the limit of my reserves. Yet you rotten good-for-nothing actually. Oh fine, I get it. Zhuo Fan gave a dismissive wave and grinned. I know you're stuck here, but think of young Sanzi's future. Is Senior that cold to the child's fate? And even if you are, you should at least value him for being on the Sacred Beast team in the final battle. He's clearly a valuable asset. Are you just going to let him pass on? Humph! Kunping is so treacherous, aware of the danger CAO posed, but never mentioned it. Yet even so, he still had a 9th-level spiritual beast come with me to help on this journey. While you go on and on about how he sold you guys out, but won't that make you worse than him since you aren't giving one measly help? Joa Fan gave him a scornful look, making the dragon ancestor snap at him in annoyance. You say I'm worse than him? Humph. So he got the All-Beast mountain range, yet only sent some 9th-level spiritual beast? In here, I'm the only one left, or I would have had an army go with you. Bragging much? Actions speak louder than words. Joa Fan taunted, groaning inside. Dragon Ancestor gnashed his fangs and spewed out 10 golden balls the size of a hand. He then started wheezing. Kid, don't ever say I didn't help you. These small dragon breath pills are all that's left, and you'll have to make do. They can't handle the old monster, but you can still use them to clear your path. This is all I could do to help. Humph. That you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.